Well, good evening, everyone. We will officially call this Manvel City Council meeting to order with the workshop here at 5 p.m. If you're wondering, I'm wearing this in honor of Team USA. We beat Paraguay 4-1. We play Australia on Friday, so go USA. And then, yeah, Bobby's cheering because he liked Germany. Germany won 7-1, but I think we'll get them this year if we play them. All right, so we're going to begin with a budget presentation on development services. So, Joes, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the budget presentation for the Development Services Department. I would start with a quick overview. Development Services Department is focused on providing growth management related support to council and development related customer service to various stakeholders, including residents, business owners, developers, and other agencies. Development Services Department includes the following divisions: planning, engineering, permits, GIS, building and inspection. Sorry. Okay, there you go. In a nutshell, what we do is we provide support to City Council to go from the vision that this community adopts and make it reality, especially in terms of development, on the development side. In 2024, we adopted a strategic plan which had a vision statement that Manvel is a distinctive, safe, and highly livable community that combines the best of city and country living, including natural landscapes, quality, public services, and a variety of local housing, shopping, and lifestyle opportunities. So we take that vision, and in terms of development, our department provides various services to make that vision into a reality. How we do it is through efficient management of cities' growth and development. How we do it is with implementation of adopted master plans and providing development-related customer service by assisting various stakeholders navigate through the development processes, providing support to City Council and other boards and commissions to implement the master plans that we have adopted and help customers and various stakeholders navigate through the development process. The services we provide include master plan coordination, including creation, amendment, and update, and same with ordinances. Development-related ordinances, we help through various amendments and creation of ordinances in order for effective implementation of the master plans that we adopt. We help process and analyze and provide support to City Council and boards and commissions in terms of making decisions on zoning applications, platting applications. Our department's also heavily involved with review and issuing construction-related permits, building permits, and certain types of licenses. We also provide inspection services for the city, make sure that the constructions meet certain standards and quality requirements that we have. We provide support to various boards and staff, including the Zoning Board of Adjustments, Planning, Development, and Zoning Commission, Parks and Recreation Board. We are also involved in maintaining the GIS data and the GIS system and creating new dashboards and tools for both other departments and citizens to use. We are also constantly tracking state-related updates and making sure that we are complying. Again, on a day-to-day basis, one of the things that we do is find solutions for simple and complex development-related problems or issues that we encounter. Now going to the budget part, this is the list of items that our department asked last year. We asked for a building official, a graduate engineer, engineering technician, GIS technician, and we had asked for an AI review software. The council approved a graduate engineer position, a GIS technician, and an AI review software. Since then, we were able to hire a graduate engineer in December of last year. It took us some time, but finally we have a GIS technician that we have hired in March of this year. We've also able to establish we expanded the contract with SafeBuild that we've had to provide some engineering review services in situations where we are either overworked or we have a staff who's on vacation, or a situation where we need to speed up things. We were able to put that into contract. And then we also signed the contract with AI permit review software company called Blitz in end of last year, November, December timeframe. So last year when we made this request, this was our department. We had the Director of Development Services. Under planning, we had 2 planning positions. We had 4 positions under permits, the development manager and permit specialist. We had 1 engineering staff and 1 GIS staff member. With council's approval last budget year, we were able to add a few more staff members. So this is how our department looks like right now. We have the Director of Development Services. Under planning, we have Ellie, the senior planner, Jessica, who's our associate planner. Under permits, we have Jorge, who's our development manager, and then we have Laura, senior permit specialist. We have Isabel and Jessica, the other 2 permit specialists. Under engineering, we were able to make some changes, and I would get into a little more detail at the next slide, but we have a city engineer position. We have an associate engineer, Percy Ben, who you all already know from, we had transitioned him to the Public Works Department last year, but we were able to bring him back through a restructure. I will touch upon that on the next slide. And we finally hired engineer 1 position, Marilyn. We keep losing track of when she started. It's been some time. She's new, but she's been picking up really well and doing great. We have added a GIS technician. Under GIS, we have Chen, who's our GIS specialist, and we hired Nia as GIS technician. Our building and inspection services are provided by SafeBuild, with whom we have a contract. They help us with review of plans, they help us with inspections, and other services like attending meetings and need basis. Like I mentioned, we've included an expansion to their service to provide additional engineering review. Some of the other accomplishments that I would like to mention from our last budget year, number 1 would be a comprehensive plan and major thoroughfare plan update. We got it adopted in May. Our GIS department, which is Chen, was able to make a lot of data updates and was involved in creating several new dashboards, both for internal and update some of the dashboards that were available for the public. We were able to accomplish a design criteria manual update in January this year. We were able to send 2 permits specialist staff members for training offered by the Building Professional Institute, which specifically targets permit specialists and other building professionals. In general, both permits and planning department were able to coordinate with several other departments and other stakeholders to make improvement in how we communicate while we navigate through the development process. We're able to update a lot of checklists, documents, application forms, standardize certain communications that we have, and make improvements on the permit and application review process. Is it 100% done? Is it all complete? No, it's work in progress, but this year we were able to make significant improvement. I would like to touch upon our major thoroughfare plan update and comprehensive plan major thoroughfare plan update and comprehensive master plan update real quick. This is big because as part of our comprehensive master plan update, we were able to have extensive public engagement, multiple workshops and discussions with our Planning Development and Zoning Commission, who acted as your advisory committee too on this project. And we were able to adopt the future land use plan for the first time. Our previous comprehensive master plan did not have that element. This year we were able to, this update included the future land use plan, which provides, which is a guiding document for the city and for stakeholders to understand community's preference, to understand the vision that City of Manvel has in terms of land use and development and the character that this community aspires to be. We were able to, the map includes specific land use and character designation, like your rural preservation, your estate residential, suburban residential, your commercial, and industrial. So that was a big accomplishment for the Development Services Department, that now we have that moving forward. Some of the development review, application, and processes is a little more streamlined and consistent. In addition to that, we also have a map that looks at the future land use plan, but also looks at some of the existing development in the area and identify opportunities where some of the land use could deviate from the underlying land use and character map, like for example at critical intersections where there could be opportunities for mix of uses. And then the major thoroughfare plan, as you all are aware, there was extensive public engagement, and we were able to make some significant changes on the thoroughfare plan that we at that point had, and incorporate some changes that the community was looking for. The other accomplishment that I want to talk a little bit more about is we are in the implementation phase of the Blitz AI software. We have made quite a lot of progress. We are specifically right now, we are testing the platform that we have right now. We have both the residential and the commercial module open and available for us. And starting today, we'll be testing several different types of plans to see how it performs. Some of our initial testings were fine. Everything looked as we discussed and as we planned. Blitz is planning on upgrading some of the technology behind how these things operate, and they're planning to apply that to the services they provide to us as well. So we meet with them every single week and make sure that we are progressing as much as we can. But on a software like this, on a project like this, we have to do the heavy lifting on the initial phase so that things go smoothly. So we are anticipating significant progress in the next couple of months when we'll have our residential module available and live. I would want to touch upon some of the projects that we mentioned at the last budget presentation, where we were working on it. I want to confirm that the three major items that we talked about are done. We did make sure our comprehensive plan and major thoroughfare plan, they were updated. The adoption was done in January. We were working on infrastructure acceptance process and making sure that we are tracking everything the right way and in a manner where we know we are doing asset management in a productive way. We've made sure that that has been taken care of. We are working on a sign inventory of the city, signs owned by the city, owned and maintained by the city. So that was completed. And we were working on, like I said, making sure our processes are good, efficient, effective. We've made a lot of progress on that. It's still a work in progress. I would want to quickly touch upon activity trends in terms of development. Last year, we saw that the activity is not like significantly large compared to the past trends that we have. There's still an uptick, but there are certain elements or certain items that we see things that we projected in the last budget year, the actual numbers were not, were either close or slightly less than what was projected. On this table, for fiscal year 2025-2026, the numbers that we are projecting, we do see some of the activities are much lower than the actuals from the last year. And there's another slide showing the trends. It's not a significant spike on most of the items. I included this slide so that this was one of the items that the mayor and council wanted staff to track. We are still tracking the review timelines and efficiency on reviews. We have been able to maintain a less than 5% delay, and for the most part, it's less than 2%, but there would be some months where it would go higher, either because of the volume or because of some ongoing circumstance. Last year, one of the things that we also discussed was the review and cost with SafeBuild. What we've seen is with the numbers that we have right now and using a standard projection, it looks like we're not going to have significant difference in cost compared to last year. Now, coming to the ask, we're not, since last budget year, council approved quite a lot of our requests. We're in a good situation. We're not asking a whole lot. But one of the items that we had requested last year as well, we are still continuing to ask that, which is the building official position. And then we have two relatively smaller items. One is an increase of $15,000 for travel and training related expenses, since we have added some employees, and also a similar increase for software related expenses, because some of the subscriptions have gone up by 5%, 6%. Some of the softwares have become more expensive. We have to purchase some additional licenses with the new staff we've had. So those are the asks, and I would like to go back to the slide that I mentioned to you. In terms of our accomplishments, one of the accomplishments was that, right there. So we have a new city engineer. So Dan has been our city engineer for the last 18 years, you said? Yep, so Dan has been our city engineer for the last 18 years. Last year we had a situation where we hired our new engineer, the graduate engineer. The then assistant city engineer trained her for a couple of months, and after that he got an offer to go to Brazoria County, and he took that opportunity. And at that point, we were looking at how to approach this whole situation. We advertised for an assistant city engineer position, and we got quite a few applicants, but we didn't want to rush. We wanted to make sure we hired the right individual. And right around that time, we found a candidate who's had some experience in the area, good amount of experience, good skill set, and some of our staff members knew the individual from the past, and that individual was hired as the city engineer. Because we kept looking for that assistant city engineer position, and at one point, like between Dan, Chad, and myself, we felt that it would be best to look for a city engineer. That way we can restructure the engineering department to bring our associate engineer from Public Works to Development Services back, and with the new city engineer position that can function as a strong division. So that new position, city engineer, I would want to formally announce whenever she starts, but want you all to know that that was one of our accomplishments too. I'll take you back to the ask, and I know at the last presentation, Mayor and Council wanted to know what would be the one thing that we would focus on. So since we don't have a long list, and I would go with the one item that we've been asking for the past several years, which is the building official position. And the reason being, Safe Build has been providing us with that service, the building official service, inspection reviews. We don't have a building official who's expert in those matters, so a lot of times we'll have to juggle some of the stuff that comes our way. It's either me or somebody else in this department that has to navigate through that and make calls on behalf of the city's best interest, I would say. So having a building official, not that anything would change from the services that Safe Build provides in terms of review and inspection, but having that building official can help make streamline processes, can make sure that we are not missing anything. It would enhance customer service, of development-related customer service to a completely new level. And we'll have an individual on board in-house who knows the ins and outs and is able to make sure that nothing is being missed that would benefit the city, the community, staff, our operation, and the services we provide. So that would be my top ask for this year.
Great. Thank you, Joes. Council, comments, questions? No. Councilman Albert?
Thank you for anticipating questions and giving answers before we had to ask them, because you answered all my questions.
Thank you, Councilman. Mayor Pro Tem?
Joes, thank you for the presentation. I wanted you to maybe walk us through a little bit on the review and inspection cost. If we're looking at that, where can we make a savings by hiring an additional building, the person that you're wanting to hire for the $100,000?
So I'm not 100% sure if it'll be a significant change in the cost because the building official may not be doing reviews and inspections at the rate which Safe Build does. Of course, the individual can do those works and there'll be a little bit of offset that happens, but it won't be significant. What we're looking at least for the first 2 years, what we are looking at is somebody who can come on board and review everything to make sure everything is in place, there's nothing that needs to change, and make sure that we're not doing more inspections, or is there a way to reduce the number of plan reviews we do or the number of inspections we are having to do and fix those things and lead us to savings from that perspective rather than knocking out inspections and reviews at the rate at which Safe Build is doing. So there will be costs, there would be saving, but maybe not significant levels.
That's where you would expect to see them, as reduced inspections, reduced going back and having to do multiple
Correct.
reviews of that?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other comments, questions from council? Joe, just a few. First, thank you to you and your team for all that you do, your service to the community. I know that you guys have been working extremely hard over the past few years, and hopefully with some of the numbers going a little drop this year, it gives you guys some breathing room to get caught up on a few things. And Dan, 18 years, gonna get a new city engineer. How's that feel?
It's bittersweet. It's probably been a long time coming. I just wouldn't let go, I think. And so council had recommended that we do an internal efficiency audit. So we did that this year, and that was one of the main recommendations. But was to get some help in there. So it's just, we're so blessed that the person that ended up applying has, like Joe said, experience with Pearland, with Sugarland, with our drainage districts. So really, really happy. She just had moved away up to northeast part of Texas and is moving back to the area. So I think she starts Monday, Chad? Is that right? Yeah.
Awesome. It's exciting. Speaking of that, with the efficiency audit, I believe at some point we'll be getting a presentation soon, kind of as a wrap up to the budget. And I'm interested to see, because every year we talk about the building official, what the audit says. Is it time for that? Is it the building official exactly what we need? Would it be better to get more of a project manager, to get a secondary one to Jorge? What does that look like? Not sure if you guys can speak to that right now. What was the recommendation from the audit?
Well, I can talk about it just a little bit. So one of the things that always comes up, a good example is, the Redeemer Church or Church on Masters Road. Not just churches, but those are the best examples where there are projects that take many years. They do different phases and whatnot. And so with Safe Built, they do great inspections, but they're very specific. This person comes out, does this inspection, this person does this inspection. So there's really, there's a lack of continuity, I guess, someone that's looking at the overall project. And I think it would be really helpful for, or HEB, I guess is another example, or Lowe's, just something that the developer has an advocate, quite frankly. So it's almost like a client service rep in a lot of ways. That's not something that Joe's can do. He's got to manage the department. It's not really something that Jorge can do. So it's really someone that's got building inspection experience that can review commercial site plans, especially. I wouldn't anticipate them reviewing residential home plans, but somebody that can manage the contract with Safe Built, right? And any other subcontracts that we have. Does that help?
Yeah, that does. Thank you, Dan.
The study does talk about the bringing on a building official in-house and keeping it hybrid for at least the next few years or several years, depending on how everything goes. But it does cover that. So the study also realizes that having a building official in-house would be a significant benefit.
Thank you, Joes. Thank you, Dan. Last question I have, this screenshot of Blitz, is that of our actual dashboard or is that a sample dashboard?
It is our dashboard. We do have access to a dashboard right now.
What I'll highlight about that is for the 5 reports generated per report, we saved 15 hours worth of review time. And if you take that out over the 5 reports, that's just from those 5, 76 hours saved in review. That's huge.
Yeah, and that's an early snapshot and just one of our snapshots. Me, Jorge, and we have 2 of our permit specialists who will be doing extensive testing this week. So we do have a dashboard built. We have access to the commercial module and the residential module. The residential module is a little more ahead in the phasing compared to the commercial. But yeah, we are definitely making progress.
You don't need any zero-turn mowers? You guys are
No, thank you.
All right, awesome.
But before we end, I would want to make sure, I just realized that some of my team members are here. So if they could stand up so that y'all have some face time
over there. Guys. Awesome. All right, thank you, Joes. Appreciate it. Council, any other comments, questions before we move on to the next item? No? All right, so the next item on the agenda is development presentation by Risewell Group. Council, as we were informed by our city manager, they are not here to formally present tonight. They've asked for an additional, my understanding is 3 weeks. They're reworking their site plan, and while we don't know exactly what it is that they're reworking, they said that they're reworking it. But this is on the agenda tonight, so council, if you guys have any feedback that you would like to pass along to staff that they can share with the developer as they have their rework that's taking place, this is a great opportunity to do so. Obviously, there's been a lot of interest in this item. We have a lot of people here tonight that are interested in this item with a perspective on it. I think the most important thing, though, is everybody deserves their opportunity to present to council. And so let's not rush to a decision tonight. Let's state what our feedback is, what we would want to see. We'll give them their fair say on the July 6th meeting is when they've requested to come in front of us. And then at that point, we'll make a final decision one way or another. But if there's things you either want to see or things you don't want to see, if you're saying here's where the line is in the sand, what we're not willing to budge on, it's a great opportunity to say those remarks. But Dan, Joes, is there anything that you guys would like to introduce initially?
Well, I just wanted to sort of own the timing of it. Up until last year, whenever the state law changed, and we could, post an agenda on a Thursday or a Friday before a Monday meeting. Now we have to post on Tuesday. So they did actually ask if they could be on, hey, we're not quite ready. They had just asked if they could be on this meeting. And then we had the pre-development meeting with them, and they said, okay, we're not ready. And so they did ask us, it just wasn't in time for us to take it off the agenda. So I just wanted to be transparent about that. It's not necessarily anyone's fault, I guess, other than state law.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan. Well, council, any comments, feedback, anything you guys would like to say? Mayor Pro Tem?
Well, I think by looking out in the crowd, I've heard from many of the people sitting out in the crowd tonight and others that aren't here. you know, nobody knows exactly what's going to come before us right now. We've seen drawings, we've seen this and that. They've talked about 50-foot lots and 60-foot lots and 70-foot lots. And that's stirred up the emotions of most of the people that are living there. Because this council has been pretty adamant about drawing the line at the 1128 and not putting cookie cutter sites out on that side of town. Now, I think there's a bunch of misunderstanding a little bit about what's the area zoned for. And I think that's up to us to educate, that while I don't believe, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't state that some of this area has to be 1 acre. It's there's a difference in the suburban, and I think we need a little bit better explanation of that, okay? But after we get that explanation, it still doesn't say that we as a council can't do what we've been saying, and that's we didn't want the smaller lot sizes on that side of town. I think it poses a lot of problems, and we don't have, like I say, all the answers. We don't know about traffic studies. We don't know about drainage studies. We don't know any of that because it's way too early to get to that point. But as always, there's always going to be those specific concerns. And that's my message to the developer is that I think we're doing ourselves an injustice if we don't do what we all said that we get elected to do, and that's listen to what the people in the area want and then try and provide that to the best of our ability. So, but like I say, I'd love to hear so that everybody can hear the description of what's in the zoning for that.
And so I guess there's two different components to that, Mayor Pro Tem. So the first thing is right now it's zoned open single-family residential. So minimum 1 acre is the way it's zoned today. So if they want to do anything smaller than that or different from that, they would have to come and apply for a rezoning. That's where we go through the public hearing and everything. Preliminary talks, it seems like they would probably come in with a PUD, I would think, just like Meridiana or most of our bigger developments is probably what they would be looking at. I think you're also talking about the comprehensive land use plan that we just adopted. So that does identify certain rural areas. The one that you had come before you a few months ago up on the north side of 1128 in a rural area, and then also the one down on Uzel. It was in a rural area. This specific area on the comprehensive land use plan is not identified as a rural area. It's identified as a suburban area. So that doesn't mean that is the way that it will be developed, but that's just another tool for council to use of what is the overall plan. I would suspect that there's going to be a mix of different size lots is what they're going to bring forth, but I hate to even speculate on that. But to answer your original question, it's zoned open single family. So if somebody wanted to build a home on any of those tracks right now, it would have to be on at least 1 acre, right, Joseph? They would have to provide drainage, a way to do utilities. I think the reason a lot of our zoning defaults to open single family is because that's the TCQ regulation for well and septic. Like the homes on Lewis, I think they have city water, but septic systems, right? And then when you come around on different roads, there's certainly not water and sewer throughout all of this development yet. So that would be something that this development would have to bring is water, sewer. They'd have to actually provide detention, for the overall development, not detention ponds on each different tract.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'll weigh in. When I think about, to Dan's point there, the land use map and it being suburban residential, that gives you a range. Suburban residential is going to be different in some nearby like Delbello Lakes or Blue Water or Valencia than what it's going to be in our more rural areas of town. When you look, and I spent time over the weekend looking at all the surrounding properties, you have properties, a majority of them, I'd say 90% of them are 1+ acres, with many 1.5 to 2+ acres. There's a few that are 0.99, 0.98, but that's not many. So when I think of suburban residential, I think of it's going to be developed at some point. It's not going to remain just a giant forest. So, but it has to fit with the surrounding area. It has to fit with the vibe and the feel. And I get it, property owners is probably third, fourth generation property owner, and they don't want to pay property taxes on it anymore because they have no plans to do something with the property. But that's the reason that we have zoning. So when I look at it, Mayor Pro Tem, to your point, I'd be hard pressed to rezone it from anything than what it is. Maybe I could be convinced to do a mix of, let's say, 3/4 acre and acres, depending on what that looked like. But going down to 50, 60, or 70-foot lots would be, personally for me, would be tough to approve that. I do have some concerns with the property as well, just to put it on the record. I think the ingress and egress points are concerning, especially where they're staged and tiered coming out onto 1128. 1128 already gets backed up during rush hour right now. And their ingress and egress points would not align, from what I've seen, with existing other roads, so you couldn't put in a stoplight there. So you now have additional people, and what they originally proposed was a lot of homes. We'll see what they come back with. So that's a concern, and then also, they're gonna ask most likely to be annexed into a mud. And the only mud nearby is mud 61, and I think it's very unlikely that they would get annexed into mud 61, so what does that look like? So for me, that's where my concern is. If they come back with 50, 60, 70-foot lots, I would be a no for that. But we got to see what they come back with there. It's minimum 1 acre, suburban residential, and I think we need to stick with 1 acre per one home. So that's what I have. Council, any other feedback? We'll go Councilman Rossi Knox.
I would echo that. When I campaigned last year, I walked this area, and there's a lot of drainage problems. I don't see how us clearing a forest or the forest being cleared and homes being built there and all of this concrete and whatnot, whatever it is, the development, I don't see how that's going to positively impact an already tough drainage situation. You can put in these detention ponds and we can divert water, but I think the problem is going to get worse in the area. It seems like an odd location. So I do echo the comments that were just previously made. The ingress and egress, I'd be curious to see if and when TxDOT ever expands 1128 first before we start adding all these major developments that really impact. There's been times when I've tried to come to a council meeting and I'm stuck down way past Terra Estates just, because it's a one lane and it's backed up. And so it's difficult. It's difficult. I have concerns about the forest as well and the displacement of animals. I would need to see some sort of a study about, what is going to be displaced here? Are we going to be forcing animals out into the surrounding areas? I like the way the area looks now. I think it kind of fits in. We have a small post office. We have small streets. You have your school. I think building more of that kind of a look and a feel would be appropriate on the 1 acre lot. So we'll just have to see what they come back with. It is unfortunate that we can't have a communication right now with them, but I guess we will see next meeting. So.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions, comments, Council? Joseph?
To Councilman Bonner's point, I wanted to mention that for the next PD&Z meeting, we are planning to have an item on the PD&Z where we have a discussion item with them talking about the adopted comprehensive master plan. We don't know how much ground we're going to cover, but there's a good chance we will touch upon the future land use plan, what exactly is on it, what the plan recommends for that, and all of that. So next PD&Z meeting, we'll have that item on the agenda for the PD&Z.
Joe's, as a clarification, is that with Risewell, or that's just with?
No, that is like our plan with PD&Z to cover a few topics before the end of the year, since we recently adopted the master plan, just a refresher. Hey, this is what we have. Nothing to do with the any development for that matter.
Sounds good. Thank you, Joe's. Well, Council, we'll see what they present for July 6th. Dan, Joe's, if this, maybe this recording through YouTube can be just shared with them, so that way they have access to that, and then we'll see how they want to proceed for July 6th. And they would be, I'm assuming, on the workshop for July 6th, if that holds true, and that would be 5 p.m. here.
I believe so. We'll double check that it's not one of the early ones, but it's probably the 5 o'clock, right?
Okay, that's perfect. All right. Thank you, everyone. Council, we have a little bit of time here. What I'd like to do is take the next 15 minutes and maybe we can touch just briefly on some agenda items. We have agenda item number 6 on our regular agenda. If you want to take a look at that, this is consideration and possible action to appoint 2 members to the Charter Review Commission for the 11 board. And Tammy, can you give us an update here? My understanding is that we had 10. We're looking to fill 1. 1 is not able to fulfill due to time constraints, and so we now have 2 to appoint. Is that correct?
That is correct. So at the last meeting, you had done your 9. Jason did not have much time to get his candidate from the election and the notice that he got. So he has got his person. It's going to be Ed Perry is who he's recommending. And then for Ryan Miller, he was on vacation when he so nicely said, sure. And then when he got back, realized he had a big work project and just wasn't going to be able to commit to the board and give what the board deserved. So he had let his seat go, and the recommendation for that one is Enzo, excuse me, Frosini, who currently sits on the Keep Manvel Beautiful board. So it would be Mr. Perry and Mr. Frosini is a recommendation for tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Tammy. Council, any comments, questions about that?
2 excellent choices.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Agenda item number 7, that's about calling a special meeting that we discussed for 5 p.m. for June 22nd. Anything for us regarding that, staff?
So part of the city manager update was going to be tomorrow is the bid opening for the sidewalk projects. And so it really kind of depends on what those numbers come in. If we get good numbers tomorrow, then let's keep that meeting next Monday just to award the contract. If for whatever reason they're not good numbers, then we can probably just take a wash on that meeting. But the idea was that if not, then we would be waiting till July 6th to start sidewalk projects. And we would really like to get some of those done over the summer break while the kids are out.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan. Council, any comments, questions regarding that? Okay. Agenda item number 8, this is regarding the possible action to direct staff on establishing an ordinance on the use of e-scooters and electric bikes. This was an item that was requested by myself, Councilman Oplager, and Councilwoman Roby Robinson. I'll let the 2 of them speak, and I believe Chief has some items that he'll be able to share as well. We may need to wait till the regular meeting for that, but we're seeing a proliferation of these being ridden, especially by people younger than the age of 16, and being driven very irresponsibly. And it is not my desire with this, if we give direction to staff to draft a policy, would not be to completely stop their usage, but to have practical and reasonable safety measures, just like if you drive a vehicle. You know, you have to wear a seatbelt, you have to go the speed limit. We've had a few accidents, is my understanding, situations or at least close calls as it relates to kids on scooters and e-bikes. Other cities have done very reasonable policies. And I would like for us to consider that if we'd like to. Council, heading into the school year, there also would need to be a public education effort from our police department, from the school district and others. But it's certainly something that I see as a need moving forward. Councilman Oplager, do you have anything you want to
So I've been sending pictures of different e-bike scooters and stuff to the mayor over a period of time. Because if you walk into Best Buy right now, there's at least 3 displays of e-bikes, front row right there. This is becoming a norm of society, right? Where they're buying their kids these bikes. I guess, and that's great. That's great. But the risk for me, I've ridden motorcycles and stuff all my life, but when I think back, I started riding motorcycles when I was allowed to take a test and get a driver's license. So there's a considerable difference. But the number one thing that I didn't have then, and what these kids don't have, and when you're young, is experience. Experience is what's going to kill them. Experience is what's going to hurt somebody. Because they're 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, and they don't understand that there's other things going on in our streets. There may be an elderly person like me walking on a sidewalk that doesn't hear very well. And if you come up from behind me, I'm not going to hear you at all. And that's a problem because the little 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kid doesn't understand that. And that's where, I mean, it's time for this conversation to take place. I'm not advocating that we create rules for our kids because they're all, I promise you, they're all good kids. They just don't have the experience. And this is where I think as a group of people, we need to recognize that this is a change in society. This is a norm, right? And we need to kind of take a look at it, be realistic. It's like the mayor said, they don't have to be unrealistic and create a problem for the police department to try to manage. That's not what I'm looking for. That's not why I asked to talk about this. But there are some simple safety measures that can be done. I've seen this in Yuma, Arizona, where people they have little flags, on the back of them where you could see them. It's simple things like that. Ask the kids to wear a helmet and gloves. It's the simple things, right? And that safety class. So anyway, that's why I've asked to bring this up. As long as the mayor, I've been sending him pictures, and not long ago, I took a screenshot, and Pearland PD reports they're seeing an increasing rise in crashes on e-scooters and similar personal transportation devices across the city. Now, it happens. I enjoy riding my motorcycle. I enjoy riding my golf cart around the neighborhood, just like everybody else. But I want to do it realistically and respectfully and safely. And that's all I'm going to ask our council members to share and think about, and ask the chief to explore that opportunity. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I'm definitely on board on the city creating an ordinance for this. Many of the kids that are riding these bikes, like you mentioned, they're not of age to drive, which is why they're going for the faster bikes. And even my nephew, he has a bike that goes like 40 miles per hour. And, as much as I try to get him to wear a helmet at all times, if there was a rule that stated you had to wear a helmet, and perhaps there may be, I'm not saying like we come out with a list of repercussions for children, but I'm just saying that having regulation provides a good foundation as a starting point, not only for parents, but for the students, kids as well, and keep everyone safe.
Great. Thank you, Councilwoman. Council, we are at 5:47, so what I'll do is if you guys are good with it, we'll put a pin in this, come back to it during the regular meeting, allow us to stretch the legs, and when we get to that item, we'll just head straight into Chief, kind of just presenting some of his thoughts and a little bit of the research that he's done in preparation for this. Sound like a plan? All right, so we'll take a recess here at 5:48 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
I like to call him a dog.
All right. Good evening, everyone. We will call this regular city council meeting to order here at 6:01 p.m. We have 6 of 7 members present. Councilman David Lands is not here tonight. It's because and he said that I could share this publicly, they believed that his wife needed to get a stent put in her heart today. And when they went through to initiate doing that, they ran some final tests, and it turns out, glory to God, that she did not need a stent, and it was actually a false positive test. So she did not need it, and he's very grateful for that, but he apologizes that he's not able to be here tonight for this council meeting. Heading in next, after the call to order, we have the invocation, and the invocation is going to be given to us tonight by Mr. Chad Rogers. Mr. Chad, thank you for being here, sir.
Yeah, dear Lord, we just come to you today with just thanks. Thanks that we live in this country, Lord. Thanks that we live in this city. Tonight, we just ask that your guidance and your wisdom as we gather and conduct business in our city, Lord. And we just hope that help us to listen with open minds and speak with respect and work together for the common good of our city. Lord, we ask for your protection over our residents, our first responders, and all who call this community home. And for Councilmember Land's wife and everything they're going through, we lift it up to you and pray. Lord, thank you for Jesus and all the grace and the mercy he gives us, Lord, that we do not deserve. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Chad. Next, we have the inspirational reading from Councilmember Roby Robinson.
Thanks, Mayor. So tonight I'm reminded that every meaningful accomplishment begins long before anyone sees the results. A thriving city, a strong community, and a shared vision are not built in a day. They are built through consistent effort, countless conversations, difficult discussions, and people who are willing to dedicate their time and talents to something bigger than themselves. The seeds we plant today, through our service, our leadership, and our willingness to work together, may not bear fruit immediately. But with patience, commitment, and faith in the process, those seeds grow into opportunities, stronger neighborhoods, and a brighter future for generations to come. As we continue to grow as a city, let us remember that every resident's journey is different. Some are celebrating new beginnings, some are facing unexpected challenges, and others are working quietly every day to provide for their families and pursue their dreams. May we approach one another with understanding, grace, and compassion, recognizing that a strong community is built when people feel seen, valued, and supported. Let us also remain open to new relationships, new ideas, and new partnerships. Growth requires collaboration, and the future of Manvel will be shaped not by any one individual, but by all of us working together. Residents, businesses, staff, and elected officials united in one common purpose. May we continue to put in the work, trust the vision, and invest in one another, knowing that the efforts we make today are helping build the Manvel we all hope to see tomorrow.
Thank you, Councilwoman. If you can, please stand and join me in saying the pledges. First, to the U.S. flag, pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to the Texas flag, honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. Thank you, everyone. You can be seated. Next, we have a staff presentation on a public hearing item. So, Joes, we will turn this over to you, and then we will go into the public hearing.
Mayor and Council, this is a rezoning request for an approximate 394.232 acres tract of land to be rezoned from Open Plan Unit Development, OPUD, to the current Planned Unit Development zoning district. This is for a development that was previously approved by the name Presidio in 2017. A development plan was approved, however, the ordinance that approved it indicated that before getting a building permit and other permit for approval, permit approval for construction, they had to go through a council action. So at that point, the applicant decided to apply for the new designation, planned unit development, instead of continuing with the OPUD designation. The proposed development is a mixed-use development. It includes acreage dedicated for residential use and then some commercial acreage along the major thoroughfares, 288 and Highway 6. The subject site is located at the intersection of 288 and Highway 6. This development includes construction of several streets within the development in accordance with our major thoroughfare plan, as well as creating local circulation streets for the overall development. This, in terms of proximity to other development, it has Manvel Town Center across the street from 288, and it has Del Bello Lakes on the northern side of it, and to the east you have the Valencia development. The total acreage is on both sides of Highway 6. Majority of the land use, commercial and residential land use, is on the north side of Highway 6, and there's some detention use on the south side of Highway 6. The previously approved ordinance for Presidio included several development regulations, several allocations and requirements. The current PUD largely follows the same idea, but there are some changes that were included in the proposed PUD request. The final report from PD&Z included in your packet includes a table that calls out the major differences. The application was reviewed by staff, and we recommended to Planning, Development, and Zoning Commission approval of the ordinance with a list of items that needed to be considered and addressed by the applicant. And the Planning, Development, and Zoning Commission is forwarding the same recommendation to City Council. However, after the Planning, Development, and Zoning Commission meeting, the applicant revised the PUD document to address most of the comments. However, there were 3 items that the applicant would like to present and explain why they are making the ask, and see what the council would accept or suggest in terms of changing. The request has gone through the required public notices for public hearing process. It was published in the local newspaper, and a sign was posted on the property advertising the public hearing for the particular project. With that, I would conclude. The applicant is here, and when it's time, the applicant intends to explain some of the items that are listed as conditions from PD&Z.
Great. Thank you, Jose. I'll now read out the public hearing, and we will open it up to 3 calls for anybody wishing to speak on the subject of this public hearing. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. We'll call you forward to the podium where you can state your name and address, and then the floor will be yours. So this is to hear input from the public regarding an ordinance 2026-0-16 of the City of Manvel, Texas, amending the zoning ordinance 2007-0-26 of the city by changing the zoning classification of a certain tract of land constituting approximately 394.232 acres from open planned use development OPUD district to planned use development PUD district. Such tract immediately located on the east of 288 extends across from both north and south sides of State Highway 6, south of Del Bello Lakes Development, west of Iowa Lane and Valencia Development, and generally within the boundaries of Brazoria County Municipal Utility District Number 30, providing for the amendment of the city's official zoning map, providing for the severability, and providing a penalty in an amount not to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation of any provision hereof. We will open the public hearing at 6:10 p.m. I'll do the first call for anybody wishing to speak on the subject of this public hearing. Yes, if you could please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and the floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Josh Armstrong. I live at 19143 Satsuma Ridge Drive. I was at the Planning and Zoning Development meeting when they proposed this, and my biggest concern is traffic. What's the plan for 288 and 6 when we have a Memorial Hermann, 2 hotels, and all that coming in on that corner? If you've been down there in the evenings, trying to get onto 288 off of Highway 6 is horrendous. You know, coming down 288, if we have all this traffic all the time, we need something to be done about that before we add more development there. Specifically, the feeder, the 288 feeder, that I know they addressed in the meeting, but they couldn't say it would be done by the time they started construction. I mean, if we start construction there right now, how are we going to get to work? You know, I mean, the traffic's going to be ridiculous. That's really my biggest concern. I have nothing against the development or anything. Manvel's going to grow. I'm fine with that. But I think that we, as a city, should take that seriously and take it responsibly, and I hope you do, to think about these things. They're going to really affect these residents. You know, if we have a bunch of construction equipment coming down 6 and 288 every morning, how does that affect our commutes to work? And that's my biggest problem with it. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Josh. Appreciate you being here tonight. We'll do a second call for anybody wishing to speak on the subject of this public hearing. Yes, sir. If you could come forward, state your name and address for the record. Thank you for being here.
My name is Jose Garza. I live on Flora in Manvel. And my concern, I'm not really 100% opposed to it, which I'd like to see those trees where they're at. I wish they wouldn't be torn down, because this is going to be in my backyard.
Sir, this is a public hearing for land that is northeast corner of 6.
Okay, so you haven't gotten to the point that I need to come and speak?
No, sir. That
Sorry
will be
about
coming up
that.
here soon. You're good. Sounded like you were going to have a great speech there, but I wanted to wait till the right item. So you're good. You're good.
I'm going to lose it by the time I get back.
So this is for the northeast corner of 6 and 288. I'll do a second call for anybody wishing to speak, and a third call for anybody wishing to speak. All right, we will close this public hearing at 6:12 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Before we get to the public comments, I want to move forward, Council, the city manager update. That way we can also give Manager Dan an opportunity to speak to the weather conditions that are coming up over the next 48 hours and some of the efforts the city is doing to prepare for that. So, Manager Dan.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a unique opportunity. Since we have a captive audience, we had our first emergency management weather briefing this afternoon with our emergency management coordinator, emergency services, the mayor, all 6 directors, and our public information officer. And so right now what we're expecting over the next couple of days, of course, is just a lot of rainfall. I think we all know, we're relatively flat in Manvel. That's how it was, that's why it was settled here, rice country kind of. And so there's not a lot of places for the water to go, as we all know. So Chocolate Bayou and Mustang Bayou, those are pretty much our only avenues. So where y'all can help us out, I asked our public information officer, Blake, if you'll put that, perfect. If you'll kind of take a look at our new website. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. It's, of course, just www.cityofmanvel.com. And in that far right-hand side where it says Report a Concern, if you see a ditch that's got tree limbs in it, or debris, or if you see a culvert that's plugged up, if you see a storm sewer inlet, if you see anything like that, please report that, and that will get it to the right people, where they can go out there and basically it starts a work order. That way you're not chasing around a phone tree, you're not calling the police dispatch or something like that. So this would really, really help us. So I appreciate you letting us talk about that, Mayor. Do you want me to go through the whole report while we're here? Okay. Just keep on trucking them. I already mentioned tomorrow is our bid opening for the sidewalk project. So be praying that we get good numbers for the sidewalks. The biggest one is the sidewalk on Lewis between McCoy and Masters on the south side of the road for the most part, and then also on the north side by Terra Estates. Wednesday, we're having the Public Works facility ribbon cutting, most likely indoors. So very excited about that. Robbie's so excited he's not here tonight. No, he had to run, but ordinarily Robbie would be jumping up and down. He's very excited to have their own facility. A long time coming. Friday, June 19th, City Hall will be closed. Next Monday, like I mentioned, we'll have a special meeting, Lord willing, at 5 o'clock to award the sidewalk contract. Next Tuesday, Bobby and I are going, and a couple others are going to the annual BRA water customer meeting. That's where we purchase surface water from BRA. So we'll find out kind of what the new rates are and everything next Tuesday. Next Wednesday, we're having our quarterly meeting with ESD3, which is timely since we're kind of in the hurricane season. And then just one quick reminder, on the 4th of July that morning at the new soon-to-be Buddy Williams Park, which is in Meridiana. If you go past Barbara Bennett's, the new school named after Barbara Bennett, on that road at the very end, there's a cul-de-sac. That's going to be Buddy Williams Park. And starting at 8 o'clock that morning, we're going to plant about 250 trees, thanks to the folks at Rise Development helping us out with that project. I think we've got oaks, pines. What's the other one, Joe's? Loblolly, is that a word? For some reason, I think that's the name of a tree.
Mexican sycamore.
Sycamore, there you go. That makes more sense, doesn't it? Yep, okay. So 3 types of trees. And I think there is a sign up as well on the website. But if you can make it, we're starting it early. I think we're starting at 8 o'clock, but we've got a bunch of our community partners like HEB and Lowe's. They're helping us out. We'll have refreshments out there. Like I said, Rise Development, they're going to have stuff. I think Public Works will have buggies so that we can ride around. You're not walking through the mud and everything. But it's going to be a really neat way to honor 250 years of America, right? That's it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dan. We will now move on to public comments. All of the comments that have been submitted are regarding the Risewell development. So for those of you that weren't here during the workshop, I would encourage you to go back and watch that workshop where we did discuss some. The developer has asked to make their formal presentation during our July 6th meeting. We do have some submitted comments that I will just recognize as a part of the record. Crystal Sarmiento opposed. Eileen Estrada is opposed. Margie Hill is opposed. And then we have a letter that has been signed by 6 of the property owners in the area that are all opposed. And I believe some of them are here tonight that they will be speaking as well. For the public comment cards that have been submitted, I will read the name out. If you could come forward, state your name and address for the record. You'll see on the monitors in front, on the side and in the front, the time that you have to speak. And first up, we have Mr. Garza. If you want to come forward, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Now it's your turn.
We'll try again.
I think we know the start, but go for it.
All right, Jose Garza. I'm on 7512 Flora Road. And one of the things that I'm opposed of is you guys touched base on the traffic. What's going to happen to Flora? It's a dead-end street right now, right? And I kind of like that, quiet, minimal cars in and out. And I got a feeling that if we make this development, that Flora is going to get open. We're going to have an influx of vehicle traffic. So that's one concern. The other concern is there going to be any, if that development goes through, is there going to be any improvements on Flora Road? It's kind of narrow, and right now the drainage on Flora Road is minimal. Everything kind of drains from cemetery and the tree farm over to the front of my house, and it sits there, doesn't go anywhere. My neighbor across the street has a pond, but it does get full, and the water just sits there until either evaporates or soaks into the ground. So. And the way we have rain going on right now, that water sits there for a long time. So is there going to be any plans for fixing that going forward? Is the other concern. Other than that, I'm not opposed to development and improvement to the city, but I kind of like the trees I see in my backyard. I wish they wouldn't go away. So, and that's what I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. I appreciate you being here tonight. Next, we have Pastor Tim Liston. Pastor, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I do want to thank you guys for your service. I know service means sacrifice, and so appreciate your sacrifice. So obviously the subject that I want to address is the land being developed behind us at our house. And so I really believe that, well, it's my understanding that the same zoning that we have on the land back there is true for all of the land east of 1128 through Manvel. Would that be correct? Okay, so this decision then, I think not only affects that land and the surrounding folks, but also, I can't believe I'm nervous. I preach in front of a few people every week. But. So it feels like this decision will affect the remaining tracts of land in Manvel, depending on what happens. So I just want, people move to Manvel, myself included, for the promise of, country rule life. And so to have that promise in jeopardy, it makes you wonder. It's like the promise that the city made that if you move here, it's going to stay rural. And then you move here and the city is thinking about changing it. So I'm not negative when it comes to growth. I know that there's going to be growth. I would just like the city to keep the promise. That's all. Just keep the promise of that this is a rural area, just a slice of Manvel that remains rural and remains country. So that's all I'm asking, is just that city would keep the word, keep the promise. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Tim. You did great. I think you have a career in public speaking. You did good. You overcame those nerves. All right, next we have Chad Rogers. Mr. Chad, thank you for being here tonight. If you could state your name and address for the record, or at least just state your name for us.
Yeah, Chad Rogers. I didn't have any notes when I came in today. I sat and I listened to the workshop and just the comments that I've heard, and I just jotted some things down. I found it awesome that in the workshop, one of the things they said was Manvel is a unique combination of country and rural, and I appreciate that. In a previous meeting, I don't know if it was council or PD&Z, my wife listens to every one of y'all's meetings, and someone made the comment, we don't need to be like Pearland. I've worked in Pearland almost 21 years. I can tell you if there's a plot of land they can build a neighborhood on or an apartment complex on, they build it. And traffic is miserable. And it's only gotten worse, and it's not getting better, and I'm sure you guys frequent there. I used to have to go to the HEB. Thank y'all for getting the HEB in Manvel. We appreciate that. The presentation slide showing the workshop, did anybody look at the graphics that were on there? It was a fence with a horse and trees and a windmill and water. It was not a neighborhood. It was not packing a neighborhood in a rural part of Manvel. It wasn't tearing trees down in rural parts of Manvel. Mr. Rossi loves trees. And I take offense to the fact that they said the trees out there are basically trash trees, because the 2 acres next to my lot, which would potentially be torn down, is full of elm trees and pine trees and small oak trees. I question reworking a site plan. They knew that plan would not work the way it was. They knew what they wanted to put in that area. They put it on paper. I've seen it. In the proposal, they identified the areas of trees. I'll just tell you this, I question if they're actually going back and trying to create a plan that makes sense for that area, and I doubt that. I drive 1128 every day, and I can tell you without a traffic plan, we cannot afford to have more houses put in that area. And I think everyone behind me will agree to some extent whether they support this or not. Minimum 1 acre, there's no reason to change it. Mayor called that area a more rural area of town, and development should fit with that surrounding area, and I agree 1,000%. And I agree that it should stay at least 1 acre, and the idea that we would go below 1 acre is unacceptable in my opinion. And lastly, I just please ask this, help us keep Manvel rural. Keep that part of Manvel as rural as possible. So thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chad. Next, we have I believe a Norman Peters. All right. This is an address out of Houston, Texas. All right. Next, we have Deborah Williams. Hello, Miss Deborah. Thank you for being here tonight. If you could state your name and address for the record, that would be great.
Deborah Williams, my address is 7502 Lewis Lane. Our house is next to the woods, and if this goes through, we'll have 15 new neighbors. I am against changing the zoning ordinance to allow the smaller lots. The property in question is currently zoned for houses to be built on acreage. This provides Manvel with the rural and country life feel. We don't want it to become overdeveloped. We want to preserve what makes this community special. Smaller lots, 50-foot lots, or even half-acre lots will take away from this. Adding a large number of homes in this area puts a strain on infrastructure, increases traffic, and can have long-term impacts on drainage, roads, and overall quality of life. It will take away country living from the surrounding neighbors. We enjoy our town and country lifestyle. Some of the concerns are infrastructure. Can it keep pace with the growth? Increased traffic, road congestion, traffic along 1128, Flora, Scott, Georgia, Cemetery, and Lewis. It will even impact Charlotte and Tankersley, and they already have a hard time getting out onto 1128. Poor drainage, which leads to flooding on streets and into existing homes like mine. Safety, basic security, and road hazards. Potential crime increase, light pollution, strain on the police and fire departments, homes becoming rental properties or short-term rentals like Airbnbs. I don't know if we already have an ordinance against that or not. New home construction damaging existing roads, loss of the small town feel. We want to preserve the natural environment. Keep that country feel with openness, green spaces, trees, and wildlife. We want to continue enjoying the peace and quiet. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Deborah. And if you guys want a gutter system, now we know where to buy one there. Appreciate you being here tonight, Ms. Deborah. Thank you for your remarks. Next, we have Brandy Russell. Ms. Brandy, if you could state your name and address for the record. Thank you for being here.
Right. I'm Brandy Russell. I live at 7220 Cemetery Road. Let's see. I appreciate that the developers are reconsidering increasing the lot sizes, but I feel that anything less than 1 acre is unacceptable. I've read through the strategic and comprehensive plans for Manvel, and I see a common theme. The residents like the small-town feel of Manvel. They don't want Manvel to become another Pearland. They don't want to be like every other city surrounding Houston with houses stacked on each other. They want a place to come home and breathe away from the congestion, a place where they can look up at the sky and see the stars. And from the reaction to your Facebook post with the horse, people want to see animals, and you can't have that. You can't put horses in garages. You have to have an acre to put a horse on that. We have zoning for a reason. The zoning shouldn't be changed for the sake of a developer. Once again, these developers are not from Manvel. They aren't invested in our city. They're invested in the money that they're going to make. Why should we bend our rules in order to line their pockets? They're going to build, and then they're going to move on and build somewhere else while we live with the repercussions. I'm not opposed to homes being built on that land. I'm more than happy for homes to be built there as long as they follow the existing zoning, which is 1 acre lots. 1 acre lots will contribute to the cohesive look of the land. Anything less than that is going to create drainage issues, increase traffic, and overpopulate the area. So please don't accept anything less than 1 acre lots. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brandy. Appreciate you being here tonight. Next, we have R. Taylor. R. Taylor. Hello, Mr. Taylor. Thank you for being here tonight. If you could state your name and address for the record, and then the floor is yours.
I'm Rick Taylor at 20611 Georgia. That's 1 lot off of Cemetery Road. My concern is please keep it at 1 acre. It's bad enough as it is. The drainage, you can come by my house. I have 2 ditches on each side. Both of them stay full during the rainy season. They just now drain it. They're mud right now. And it's going to be flooded again. So y'all welcome to come by and wade. And that's all I'd like to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here tonight. Next, we have George Motter. Mr. George, I hope I said your last name correctly there.
Thank you.
Perfect. If you could state your name and address for the record, the floor.
So George Motter, 7510 Flora Road, and good evening, and thank you all for your service. You know, and many of my neighbors who have come tonight, we moved our family here about 4 years ago from small-town Pennsylvania to what we wanted is small-town Texas. And Manvel was the place for us. It was really, really perfect for everything that we had. And one of the reasons was because of the larger lots, the agriculture, the woods, and everything else about that. So the proposed development, borders on 3.5 acres right along our property. In fact, my wife and I actually own 3 homes on Flora. We bought 2 additional homes to renovate them for our kids because we want our family to be part of Manvel. The surrounding neighborhoods are designated, OSFR, but they are all 1 acre or more. And so everything around that area is already established in the 1 acre. The roads are not set up for this additional traffic. In fact, Flora Road isn't even a 2-lane road. It would have to be widened to provide 2 lanes. Risewell has no roots or obligations to the community. It's an out-of-town developer looking to weave a collection of lots together in an established neighborhood, build as many homes as possible, then walk away. It's obvious from what they proposed so far that they didn't care about the existing community around that development site. As you said, they want to destroy a lot of woods to build this. It's ironically next to the John A. Booth Agricultural Science Center on Lewis Lane, where they'd like to destroy all this property, all the woods. There are many other suitable plots of land in the city that are already cleared and ready for development like this, instead of trying to gerrymander this into an existing established neighborhood. It was funny you mentioned the 2045 comprehensive plan. One of the things that came out of that during the citizen comment period, 87.6% of the citizens agreed to the city should carefully consider the location and proposed density and design of new residential development to avoid encroachment into areas of large acreage properties. My family, and I'm sure most of us in this little pocket, live around Lewis and Cemetery and Flora because of the current property density and the lack of the manufactured community. There is room for both high-density and low-density neighborhoods in Manvel. But to have the clear choice between the two in defined areas is the mark of successful comprehensive planning and leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. George. Stay there for 1 second. Moving from Pennsylvania to Texas, what has been your biggest culture shock moment?
Oh, boy. I would say, I hate to say this, but folks are a lot friendlier here.
There we go. That's a safe thing to say in this room.
It's a little warmer, I have to say, and the mosquitoes are a lot larger. But it has been such a joy.
Awesome. Well, welcome to Manvel. All right, we'll check one more time, Mr. Norman Peters. Norman Peters. Okay. I believe, Tammy, that wraps up our public comments. Any more? Nope. Okay. Great. We'll now move to the consent agenda. I believe Councilman Albert had some items he'd like to move into the consent agenda. Council, if you'd be willing to consider that.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion that, background. During the workshop session, we had discussion on item number 6 with 2 candidates put forward. The city manager gave us information on number 7 on the formality of including this item, and there was a great deal of discussion on item number 8. So as a result, I would like to make a motion to amend the consent agenda to include items 6, 7, and 8 from the regular agenda.
All right, we have a motion to add agenda items 6, 7, and 8. We have a second from Councilwoman Roby Robinson. Before we vote, any comments or questions?
I thought we were going to have a little bit more.
If you want to unmute, Mayor Pro Tem.
Sorry, I thought we were going to have a little bit more talk on number 8.
Yeah, I know that was the point, but the chief has got information to put forward. The question on the item is whether we want to direct the city staff to put the measure for us to consider the establishing the ordinance. I got a sense during the workshop session that we all pretty much are going to give that direction. So let's just give it and then have the further discussion that the chief's got with the backup information when they come forward with the ordinance in defense of this ordinance.
Okay. So any other comments, questions? All right, Council, we have an amendment motion on the floor. All those in favor? All those opposed, motion passes unanimously 6-0. We now have the consent agenda in front of us as amended. Any comments or questions, Council, on the consent agenda?
I make a motion to accept.
All right, we have a motion to accept the consent agenda as amended. Do I have a second? We have a second from Councilman Oplager. All those in favor? All those opposed, motion passes unanimously 6-0. We have no items removed from the consent agenda, so we will now move on to regular agenda item number 1. This is presentation and acceptance of the fiscal year 2025-2026 annual financial audit. Dan, we'll turn this over to Ms. Rosie first, and then I believe we have the auditor here to present their findings.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You are correct. We do have our auditor here to present, Michelle Blackstock from Crow LLC. And we did have a presentation, but due to technical issues, she wasn't able to get it to us.
You can give us the verbal overview then. Thank you, Ms. Michelle.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor, City Council members. It's a pleasure to be here again. Michelle Blackstock, I'm the audit partner from Crow that completed the audit for the city this year. Very quickly, I just want to go through some of the items that we are charged to have a conversation with you all as council members. First of all, it's our auditor's responsibility. We're to express an opinion on the financial statements that have been prepared by management with council's oversight, and that they're presented fairly in all material respects in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. We also complete an assessment of risk of material misstatement, and that's an ongoing process throughout the entirety of the audit. We don't just set that risk at the beginning of the audit and keep it stagnant. As things come up during our audit, we will update and change any of our procedures based on the risk before us. We also complete an evaluation of the internal controls with a focus on the higher risk items. And based on our risk assessment, we formulate our audit plan for the year. As far as management's responsibility, we assist with the preparation of the financial statements, and in order to maintain our independence under the AICPA requirements and standards, we prepare the financial statements as well as the footnotes from the information provided by management. And management is solely responsible for the presentation of the financial statements. Management's also responsible for any federal and state compliance, and then also establishing and maintaining internal controls over the financial statements and the processes. For the current year, very quickly, we just wanted to go over the corrected and uncorrected misstatements. The corrected misstatements, there were 8 corrected misstatements in total. Most of those related to reclassifications. And then the uncorrected misstatement, this is just a journal entry that we came upon during our audit procedures that is not material to the financial statements, and so we did not post the journal entry, and it related to the implementation of GASB 101. And then we also had a restatement in the current year. It was a correction of an error, and it was related to the admission of contributed infrastructure to the city. This correction actually increased the capital assets as well as the net position of the city. Some of the other required communications that we're charged with giving to you just has to do with the fact that there was no difficulties encountered with management during our audit. There were no disagreements with management. There were no consultations with other accountants with regard to the opinion on the financial statements. And we will talk about some other findings that we have momentarily. In the current year, we had some federal compliance and controls requirements. Those are under the uniform guidance, and most people hear it and just talk to it or about it as called the single audit. The program that was tested under the uniform guidance was actually, we used an alternative compliance examination report for the current year. That is a stipulation that's within the uniform guidance, and this was related to the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds, and that was about $2.3 million that the city had actually expended in the current year. As far as the audit results, very quickly on the financial statement, it's what we called an unmodified opinion. That means it's a clean opinion. You will notice that there is an emphasis of matter section that's in our opinion. It just discusses the correction of the error regarding those infrastructure assets. And then as far as the single audit compliance examination report, once again, there were no material compliance issues related to the single audit. to go over, just high-level financial highlights for the city at a government-wide, or the governmental activities, as we call it, just a summary. The total assets were about $232 million in the current year. That's an increase of $69.5 million, or 4.3% from the prior year. Total liabilities came in at $131.2 million. That was a slight decrease of $500,000, or less than 1%. And then the ending net position for the city for the year was $101.4 million, and that was an increase of about $70 million for the year. Very quickly, we'd like to talk to you about your general fund as an overview. The fund balance in the general fund was $9.6 million, and that was an increase of about $1.6 million. And to give you kind of a perspective on that, that fund balance, we look at that and give you an idea, and that actually represents 64% of your general fund 2025 expenditures. So that shows a very strong position for the city, having that type of reserve in your net position or your fund balance that would cover that much of your expenditures. As far as the audit findings and recommendations, we did have a material weakness, and that was related to the error correction to record the infrastructure contributed by outside third-party developers. We had 2 significant deficiencies, and these, I just want to point out the importance of it. This was a lack of documentation. It wasn't that these were not being done and that there was an issue with it not happening. It was just a lack of formal written documentation that was not completed, and it had to do with the review of bank reconciliations, and then also monitoring the cash and fund balances in the debt service fund. So as an overall conclusion, the financial statements presented fairly in all material respects, with an increase in total assets of net position of $69 million. The restatement resulted also in an increase in the capital assets in the net position, and that was $64 million. And then, of course, I would be remiss without thanking everyone on your management team, the city manager, Rosie, Jorge, for all of their assistance with the audit and responding in such a timely and professional manner to all of our requests, as well as, keeping up with their daily jobs that they have to also get through every day. So with that was pretty much our presentation that we needed to share with you all. If there are any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Michelle. Council, any comments or questions for Ms. Michelle? Ms. Michelle, just a few real quick. So how long have you been working on the City of Manvel's account? Is this your first year, or have you worked on the account previous years?
This is the first year.
This is the first year.
Mm-hmm.
So this is obviously not reflective of you, but you reference material weakness, lack of formal documentation. Rosie, is that accurate? Is that an accurate statement?
It's more lack of approvals, signatures on the papers. We do review them, we just don't sign, we weren't signing off on them. Now we are signing off on everything.
Okay. And my understanding, Dan, Rosie, is that Crow, they performed our audit last year. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Michelle, why didn't your firm, I should say, catch this last year?
I specifically can't speak to that. I do know that in the current year, when we came to the audit procedures, we did notice that there was a listing of infrastructure assets that were maintained separate from the capital assets that the city actually paid for. So it's not part of the regular transaction process within the city, and therefore there was a separate listing of those. Some of this infrastructure went back to 2011, I believe it was. And so these were not included with management's submission to us with regard to capital asset additions.
And now in previous years, since this goes all the way back to 2001, and we've been studying doing our audits and getting them approved, Belt Harris used to do our audits, but Crow acquired Belt Harris. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so I'm assuming that a lot of the same people that worked at Belt Harris also now work at Crow.
Correct.
Okay. So what are we going to do to ensure that we don't have a delay in our audit moving into next year, understanding that it is of utmost importance that we stay within state compliance for the state law that was passed? What are we going to do to make improvements for next year?
I think that in the current year of 2025, we were certainly on track to have issued. And then we had the issue of the infrastructure that had not been recorded on the books and records of the city. There is a process. I'm not going to speak for management, but we have communicated with them. There is a process for them to track. We have developed a comprehensive list of the infrastructure, and it is being monitored. I believe that there's a new capital asset system that's coming on board, and so these will also be included in that processing to better track it.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Council, any other comments, questions? Dan, Rosie, anything else you guys would like to add? No? Okay. Council, do I have a motion for this agenda item?
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve from the Mayor Pro Tem. We have a second from, who is that? Sorry? From Councilman Rossi Knox. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Thank you, Michelle. We appreciate y'all's hard work and being patient with us as we work through this process. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
All right, next, agenda item number 2, consideration and possible action to approve the second amendment to the Primrose Master Plan. Miss Ellie, hello.
Good evening.
What do you have for us tonight?
So this item number 2 and 3, these are master plans that depend on each other. One of them is Primrose Master Plan Amendment number 2. The other one is Manvel Crossing Master Plan. So Primrose, as you know, it's in the ETJ. There is one approved master plan amendment for it, and it is a residential development. And Manvel Crossing is a commercial development with an approved PUD or PUD. So the reason that they are proposing amendment to Primrose master plan is to exclude about 10 acres lot, which is section 6 in the current approved master plan, exclude that from Primrose and include it or add it to the Manvel Crossing to use it as an off-site detention. It still stays in the ETJ. They're not going to add it in their pod, but they're going to use it as off-site detention facility. So staff reviewed it and recommended conditional approval. We took it to the PD&Z meeting. PD&Z also recommended conditional approval, and they asked to add one more condition for Manvel Crossing about the pipeline setback requirements.
Thank you, Ms. Ali.
Applicant is here. If you have any questions that I cannot address it, or if you want her to present, she's here.
Okay, perfect. Focusing on the Primrose Amendment specifically, Council, any comments and/or questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion for this agenda item?
I'll make a motion to.
We have a motion to approve from Councilman Oplager. We have a second from Mayor Pro Tem Bonner. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Agenda item number 3, consideration and possible action to approve the Manvel Crossing Master Plan. Ms. Ellie, is there anything additional that you'd like to share about this agenda item?
No, I don't have anything. I mentioned that PD&Z asked to include one more condition, which is about the pipeline setback requirements.
Perfect. Council, any comments and/or questions? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, Ellie, can you talk to us a little bit about the Kirby Drive section in there now that this is going to be a kind of a joint venture? Does that come at a later point in time where the decision is made of who does which side, who does all of it?
The portion is, so each Manvel Crossing has the portion next to HEB. So they're going to build that, and Primrose is going to build the Kirby Drive with the entire right-of-way that it's in their master plan.
Okay, but by the drawing, that's all part of the BCS Group's property now under the new changes, is that correct?
No, there is no change. It was same in their approved part. Nothing changed about the Kirby in Manvel Crossing.
So it will end right there at the ETJ line for now.
The ETJ line? So
Yeah,
the square portion on the northeast side is still in the city limit. When it's where it says Reserve 22.
right there where the yellow dots start on the map, that's where it will end.
The ETJ, the dots?
Yes.
It's in the Primrose
That's in
master
their
plan
part.
that Primrose is going to build
Portion-
that.
Portion that's in white
Yes.
is going to be in the BCS
Yes,
part. Okay.
correct.
That's all.
That's all. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'll weigh in here and then you have,
Yeah.
okay, please go ahead then.
I just wanted to say I was pretty disappointed when I saw the site plan. To me, it just looks very conventional and it lacks any creativity that I was looking forward to. Also, it has no community-focused recreational amenities and gathering spaces that we previously discussed that were super important. I just wanted to understand where those went. Because I see a grocery store, I see Home Depot, a fitness center, but like the gentleman, when they spoke earlier, said that just because there's land there doesn't mean we necessarily have to develop. I mean, if we're going to build something, I want it to be something that we actually need versus another grocery store when we literally have H-E-B right there.
Okay, so I think Ashley, you can address it.
Hello, Ashley. If you can come forward and just let us know who you are, who you're with, and if you can speak to those questions and comments, that'd be great.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ashley Wagner. I work for EHRA. We're the engineer for the Manvel Crossing project, and as well as the applicant for the master plan amendment for Primrose and also Manvel Crossing. And I can speak on the fact that the site plan is definitely it can change. It's not definite. What's shown on the master plan at the moment is just to illustrate at this very moment the pad site, what's planned for the pad sites. But nothing has been sold or it's still definitely up for change. So I can take down these notes and bring it back to the developer and let them know some of your concerns. There's definitely time to make changes, so at this time.
Okay. And then what would we need to do? I don't know, Dan, if we had a few ideas of our own of what we would like for it to look like, do we submit it to you and then you get it to them, or?
I mean, I think tonight's a great time to bring those up, and like she said, she can take them back. I mean, y'all can table this item if you want to tonight, I suppose, right? Shows?
This
What is this first reading?
Yeah, this is like we have the shot clock on this one too.
Okay.
This would fall under a plat, and we had 30 days for PD&Z and 30 days for City Council. So we can add conditions if you would like for us to take it to the applicant.
So just to confirm what you're saying, Joe, is we can't postpone this. It either needs to be a yes or no vote tonight.
Yeah, and primarily because it falls under the subdivision ordinance, and it is, I know they've shown like a layout, so to speak, on the master plan, but this is a master plan just to demarcate acreages. It's not getting into site plan related details. And we have the PUD that includes certain language about some of the things that were discussed, and we can also discuss outside of this particular application where some of those things that needed to be reflected. But this is more so just subdivision of land, and I believe what they've shown as a layer of layout, as Ashley mentioned, is more like, it's not binding, it's just to not make it look empty, I guess.
It's defining the boundaries.
Correct. And no, but they have overlaid like the size of the building, and all of those things are just conceptual, and that's not binding. So they have a preliminary plat phase, another final plat phase before they get to the site plan. But however, if you would need to, if there is a particular preference that needs to be included as a condition, we can definitely add it, provided we have a section either in the PUD or in the subdivision ordinance that can be linked to it.
Any other questions, Councilwoman?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go Councilman Albert.
So really, the question before us is only the rededication of this bit of land, and the rest of this illustration is a distraction. Okay, so my opinion, I don't think we need to add a note here. I think we have an opportunity now to give them some direction down the road, but we need to answer the question now: are we going to let them have this extra acreage, yes or no, and then move on?
Thank you, Councilman. I'll weigh in here. This is, Dan, Joes, correct me if I'm wrong, but the preliminary plat, final plat, that doesn't come to council. This is the last time that we're going to see this development come in front of us. And this is not just meets and bounds. This is their master plan. This is not just lines on a piece of paper. This is not buildings that they've plopped down. Let's just be real. This is what they are going to build if we say yes tonight. We've seen it time and time again. Unless the market changes, this is it. So if we say yes, we need to be prepared for this to move forward.
The subdivision of the land, but not necessarily the image that you see as the background, like the buildings, not necessarily that.
Not necessarily, but
we are not
90%
approving
of the
that.
time I've seen this is what they're proposing. And to the councilwoman's point, I'm very disappointed. I can drive down Highway 6 and I can see 6 more developments exactly like this. It's a bunch of concrete, a little bit of grass, and a detention pond in the back. And when I looked at the 380 agreement and I said yes to the 380 agreement, it was for innovation. And this just completely lacks that. It's not to say that it's not going to be a quality project, but we talked about, possibly using the pond in the back for restaurants, sit-down restaurants with patios that overlook the water and fountain features. The councilwoman talked about recreation and commercial. This misses the mark for me.
They were going to be different.
They were going to be different. And I get that this is just hypotheticals right now, but they would not be showing these if they weren't serious about this. And this is the only other trigger that we have to pull. The only other lever that we have to pull is right here for the master plan because nothing else comes in front of us. But I do have concerns focusing specifically on this master plan along Kirby Drive. And so, Ellie, you said the yellow dots would be built by Primrose. So if we follow those dots down, it then connects to the green and white portion of Kirby Drive, both sides, and that would be built by BCS. But then there's gaps. There's 2 existing gaps from where it would connect to Kirby going north and then Kirby going south. And this master plan shows an ingress and egress point, few that would go along Kirby. Is there agreement where they have to build Kirby Drive to connect with what's existing? Or are we just going to have 2, we'll refer to them as donut holes there right now? Who's building those 2 gaps?
Are you referring to the gap between?
If you could unmute yourself there, sorry.
Oh.
Thank you. No, you're good now. We got it for you.
Oh,
You're
thanks.
good.
Ha. Are you referring to the gap where the pavement ends, where HEB is, and then where our driveway would start?
Yeah, so if you go, let's go north first. So you go first north, you pass the HEB gas station, you pass the curbside pickup, and then it currently dead ends right there.
Right. Mhm.
And on this map, there's a gap shown, and then it shows what BCS would build.
We are planning on improving to make that connection, so we have access into our tract to Reserve 1. So yes, it would extend to the extent of our property.
Okay, who would be building? Is that Primrose?
That will be BCS, and we're planning on improving that with Section 1.
Section 1.
And we're working on the preliminary plat for that right now.
Just curious, Joe's, and this is a learning thing for me here, if they're planning on building that connection there, why is that not shown on this master plan?
We showed the pavement connecting on the master plan.
It took me a bit to open the files. I'm not 100% sure if I still understand the gap you're talking about. You're talking about the existing Kirby and where the Kirby is shown on BCS's master plan?
Correct.
Yeah. And I believe there is a note on this master plan that addresses that issue. portion of Kirby's Drive south of the development will be constructed simultaneously with Section 1. That is one of the notes, and I believe there was another note. Isn't
That's the
there
one I'm referring to.
So
you
to my question, if we're looking at this nice, pretty concrete jungle, Kirby Drive going north, dead ends right now. I see where it shows it in the pretty green and white colors, where it would be built by BCS, but going northbound, there's a gap. And what I'm hearing is that BCS is required to construct that. And my question is, why is that not on the map then if they're required to construct it? What am I missing?
Do we have an, or do you want to speak?
I think one of the conditions for Primrose, condition number 5, it says, additionally, please add a note stating that the portion of Kirby Drive located within the southeast detention pond tract shown on the Primrose master plan shall also be constructed as part of the Primrose development.
So Primrose is building it, not
And-
BCS.
And
And
it's,
the portion near HEB will be constructed by BCS. The 2 portions.
yeah, and one of the portions is along the detention for Primrose, and when that detention is taken, when that detention is built, as a portion of Kirby Drive on that side would be the Primrose's responsibility, and then a portion on the other side, which,
Going south, basically.
yeah, would be BCS's responsibility. And it's not shown because they may not own that. It may have been part of like a dedicated right-of-way. And we would get more of those details as part of the preliminary plat when they have the real survey information. And they would still be responsible because of the requirement of constructing perimeter roads of each development. So that's what my understanding is, if I understand the question correctly.
That does. So going north would be built by Primrose. Going south would be built by BCS. But we don't know if they own it, but yet at the same time, they would be required to construct it if they don't own it.
Correct. And there are some of these questions that we have that needs to be addressed, and to some extent, and that's why we have several conditions included on this review report, where some of the answers would be some of the answers that we'll get would be when they have a little more information on the survey part. We still don't know a whole lot of details on what agreements they have between Primrose and BCS Group, and we were hoping to get all of that figured out before we get into the preliminary plat stage. And this master plan gives them, this master plan is not a requirement. They could wait to do preliminary plat subsequently or later down the stage, piece by piece. But this process they're going through so that they can establish a total acreage and follow a rough concept of how land would be subdivided in terms of the sizes of the pad site and in terms of phasing of the roads and the inner connections and the layout of the subdivision. And also, since Primrose is taking some acreage out of their master plan and adding it to this particular development, they are amending the Primrose master plan as well.
Okay.
But I do appreciate your questions because this application has a little bit of element of being premature because there's not enough clarity on several things.
And the road's the big one, because if we don't have those two, what at least shows on the map, if those aren't filled, you have proposed an ingress and egress point at the northeast corner of BCS, or Manvel Crossing onto Kirby. That would basically just dead end. So it's going to be the road to nowhere. But Joe, you said something that's key. This master plan is subdividing based off of the proposed building square footage and the necessary parking lots that are with it. So while the businesses, for example, that grocery store might not be a grocery store, it's because the way that they're subdividing it, they're preparing for a building that size. And that's just where I go back to hit on the point, this master plan is key. So I know where I'm at. I think I've got my questions answered. Thank you. So, yes, ma'am.
Oh, I did want to add, now that I understand what portion you're referring to.
It's on the screen now, too, so this is
Yes,
this
so
is helpful,
the reason it's not shown is because it's actually part of the Primrose Master Plan, as part of the Primrose Detention Reserve, that we're actually going to be platting with this project for detention reasons, but that includes that portion of Kirby Drive that we will be improving with that plat. So it's going in with that Section 1, and we'll be constructing those together, so there shouldn't be any gaps, and that's why it wasn't clear with this master plan, but you can see it by looking at the Primrose Master Plan.
And that's for the northbound lanes and the southbound lanes? Or
Yes.
Just the northbound?
Yes.
Both. Okay, so both of those two gaps that you see right there that aren't colored in along Kirby, near HEB, both of those.
Yes, so they will be connected.
And Primrose will build them, is what I'm hearing.
Manvel Crossing is building that portion of the Primrose Detention Pond. It is BCS building that.
Okay.
It just happens to be owned by the Beezer Primrose Master Plan. So we have their agreement to be platting it for them for this project.
And are you also referring to that gap just above
reserve.
the text Kirby Drive on
Yeah,
the satellite image?
Near Reserve 4 and 5.
Right. And that may already be dedicated as a right-of-way, and it may not be part of the BCS property. That's why it is excluded. But it'll be BCS's responsibility because it's a perimeter road that they need to.
But we don't know if it's a right-of-way yet.
It is. I just looked at the plat. I was just about to say that. Yeah. That
That's
part's
what-
already recorded as part of Manvel Town Center's first.
And they were responsible for that one side, and this development would be responsible for this
Perfect.
side.
Thank you, Dan, for looking that up. Appreciate that. Thank you, Ashley. Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm still like you. I'm a little bit concerned about what they're showing here compared to all the talks we had leading up to months ago when we did the PUD and everything. And part of me wants to be trustful, and part of me says we've seen it happen, just like the mayor said, where we're talking about one type of development coming in, and 6 months later, here's a different kind of development. So I'm kind of at a crossroads here. I would love to see, I remember talks about the backside, especially like the councilwoman spoke about. They were talking about making paths back there to intercept to the neighborhoods, and I'm just not seeing a lot of what was being talked about back then. I have to do some thinking here.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other comments, questions from council? Councilman?
We had a lot to say to the BCS folks, and they stood there and nodded their head, just like any other developer will do. I guarantee you, we were promised a sit-down restaurant down the street, and what we got was a McDonald's. Developers change, right? If it fits within the block of our zoning, right, this litany of businesses that could fit in there, it's their call at that point, right? It is what it is. If it's a restaurant, it could be a McDonald's. They sit there and tell you it's going to be a sit-down restaurant. McDonald's has chairs. Right? So whatever the family entertainment could be, I don't know, but they stand here and nod their head, but at the end of the day, I'm not the guy signing the contract to pay the bill on that, so I don't know. But we've heard it before. We'll hear it again.
All right. Thank you, Councilman. Any other comment? Joe's, yes, sir.
I know we all talked about this coming back. So on plats, the way we've already always worked is there are three possible decisions. One is approve the plat. The second one would be approve the plat with conditions or deny the plat. So if it is approved, they move to the next phase. It's not coming back. If you approve with condition, we've started doing that to help projects keep moving forward so that we are not there's not a delay with the 30 days gap, because we have plat application submitted once in a month because it has to go to PD&Z a certain time. We have to have enough time to review, put it on the agenda and all of that. So if a plat is denied, it has to go back to the process. Like if the state requires that if a plat is denied or approved with conditions, written conditions and comments be provided, and then if the plat is not approved because of any deficiencies, it has to come back to the approving body again. So just wanted to make sure y'all understood that, because y'all don't make decisions on plat on a regular basis, so just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jose. Council, if there's no more comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion for this agenda item.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Are there existing conditions being recommended by staff right now?
Yeah, so I believe for both the plats, there are a list of conditions that staff had, and Planning, Development, and Zoning Commission is also forwarding those set of conditions.
So make a motion to approve with the list of conditions provided from
Perfect.
Planning.
There we go. Awesome. All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second from Councilman Albert. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion fails in a 2-4 vote. So staff, if we can provide some of the feedback. I know, Ashley, you were taking notes as well, and you'll pass that along. And my hope is that the BCS folks, when they come time, that they'll visit with us and be here at the meeting as well, and we can have a conversation. Thank you,
so
Ashley.
much.
Appreciate you.
So was this for item number 2?
Just item number 3.
3,
We approved item number 2. This is just for item number 3. Next, we have agenda item number 4. This is consideration and possible action to approve the first of 2 readings of ordinance 2026-0-16. Dan Joes, we'll turn this one over to you, and I believe the applicant is here and they would like to present as well.
Mayor and Council, I just want to quickly say the presentation as part of the public hearing, I know I was not very organized with all the documents I had, so just wanted to recap again. This is Presidio PUD. A development plan was approved in 2017. The applicant is now trying to revamp it to the current allowance of a planned unit development. The total acreage is approximately 394 plus acres. It's located at the intersection of Highway 288 and Highway 6. Portion of the development is on the south side of Highway 6 as well. The development includes residential acreage as well as a majority being commercial acreage. There is a large tract that has been dedicated for medical/hospital type use. There is a 5-acre tract reserved for public use, a city function, and then the applicant's proposed PUD document is very much similar to what was approved in 2017. However, there are slight changes. A list is included in the final report from the PD&Z. There were a list of items that staff had recommended that Planning, Development, and Zoning Commission consider before taking action. They did forward a positive recommendation of approval with those conditions. Since the meeting, applicant has reached out to staff. We've had extensive discussion, and they've addressed most of the conditions that were included. So the PUD document included in the packet is a revised version which addresses most of it. However, there were 3 items that the applicant will discuss with you and present their side of how they exactly want it so that y'all can make a decision. One is their ask for signage. There are some signage allowances which is larger than what was recently approved for some of the development in the area, Manvel Town Center, as well as the BCS group's Manvel Crossing. And that's one change. There's another item which is about setbacks for commercial. Commercial uses along local streets within the development, they don't have a distinction in terms of front setback. All setbacks are 10 feet, front and rear and side. So That is different from what our light commercial district requires. We have a front setback of 25 feet. However, they do cover setback of 25 feet for major roads. Now, the applicant had mentioned that this is in order to achieve a certain character for their development. He would have more details on it. The last item would be, there is language which includes a setback requirement from pipelines, and they are proposing that the setback be 30 feet instead of 50 feet, what the city's Code of Ordinances requires. The applicant is here to give you more details on the ask.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you, Jose. So I was keeping track of it, but I can't count that high. Thing that kind of struck me going back to talking about the e-scooters, because my son was almost killed on an e-scooter last year, was the word community, and I lost count at 37. It was how many times I heard the word community spoken out loud in this hearing, which is pretty astonishing to think that's ingrained in Manvel's culture, right? To that, you'd hear that 37 times at a public hearing. And as it relates to our project, we started this, but Joe said 2017. It was actually 2007 when the PUD was approved. It was before this building was built, unless I'm speaking out of school, but I think that's accurate, that we've owned this property and have been working to find the right time, the right combination of uses, the right kind of layout and vision. Our partners in the community, LJ, has been working on this since before we were in the project, but City Manager Johnson was 18 years. I thought he was here before me, but I actually predated him by a year. And Mayor Martin, I think her and I are the two people in the room that were here then. So as it relates to community, we're pretty committed to that word, and we don't.
Tammy was here too.
Tammy was here. And we don't take it lightly, right? We've obviously invested in the real estate and a few $1 million in studies and plans and stuff along the way. Timing is mostly where these things are successful or where they're not successful. And so we've been pretty patient on making sure to collect the butterflies and put them in the net and build the project around the actual uses we feel are going to bring that sense of community to this corner, which was originally identified as the Manvel Town Center at that point in time. We're very proud of what we've been working on all these years, and we're at the point right now where it's time, right? It was too early in 2007, 2008. Nobody knew the recession was going to hit. Well, I did, but nobody believed me. So here we are, you've got great projects developing around it. Del Bello's complete, Hillwood's well underway. It's been a lot of stuff happening. Pearland is like, you don't hear it mentioned. That's Manvel now. Manvel's the community where people focus on. And so our attention has been anxious to get going over time, but until you make sure you have the right project to where you can get in and get it built, and it's not, start and stop and fits and starts and failed projects and lack of funding and lack of money and the wrong users and all the stuff you see that happens during cycles. Like this large project, it's almost 400 acres. So it's taken a lot of thought. Staff's been great to work with this. We're probably 6 months behind our anticipated start date just because we had to go back and start the PUD process again. But it basically mirrors, as Joe said, the original OPUD that was approved in 2007 with, a fresh blush over with current ordinances and things of that nature. In the audience tonight, Samir Patel and Kevin Block with MD Anderson. They're planning to build a very large surgical center here. They're anxious to get that going. I asked them to come and be available. And our other partner that's going to be developing, joint venturing the commercial with us is UCD out of Dallas. They've developed over 5 million square feet of commercial retail. And so we're very excited about where this is going to go here. And so we don't take it lightly. And so our our thought process that goes into the PUD draft and working with staff for the better part of 6 months now, and city manager, is to get it right. And so, it's touch it once, right? Think slow, act fast, right? So as it relates to a couple of the items that Joe's mentioned that we're still lobbying for, they're important to us, and for reasons that we take specifically to task. Start with maybe the easiest one. The signage comment, it's a little different. I think we're at 90 square feet on the monument signs on the major arterials, where the other project was 50 square feet. And the reason that is because it's 4 times the size of the project. So you're going to have a monument sign with more tenants, right? So rather than have more monument signs that the tenants have to have, we're just asking to increase the monument size to scale up to properly scale it to capture the tenants on less signs, right? Cheaper to build one good sign than a bunch of average signs, right? Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, I always say. And so that's just a very simple reasoning for that, is specifically that. The setbacks, and if you can go to the slide that shows kind of a bird's eye view, it's maybe earlier on in the beginning, after go to the beginning of the. Oh, did we not get it in there? There should have been a little aerial. Anyway, it goes back to the community, right? So Charlotte, we didn't have to deal with Charlotte originally because it wasn't a thing. It didn't exist, right? Now the bridge is built, right? So Charlotte now kind of changes the way we looked at this, right? I mean, originally this was going to be a regional mall. Simon was going to buy it for regional mall. They knew that in 2004, right? So this was always going to be a regional center. But so as time's gone on, things have happened, I think, for the better, because now we can incorporate those things. So as Charlotte comes through our property and through our project, maximizing that feel for the neighborhood that's going to be going back and forth through Hillwood and beyond to come to the shopping center is, creating a calming effect, a walkable frontage feeling along Charlotte specifically, that slows that traffic down, right, back and forth between there. And so as part of that, not having the 25-foot setback for a collector, which is what Charlotte is, having that to 15 feet so we can have our pedestrian realm, appropriate parking, landscaping, tree lawn, stuff like that, park benches. Not overbuilt because, you don't want to put too much sidewalk in there. And on the Ring Road, which is the local street, where we're going to have, programmable square footage that gives us the latitude to do something cool, but yet rural in feel, is on the Ring Road, where that's the only reason that's really going to be a public road is because it's going to get dedicated, right? We wouldn't have to dedicate that, but as part of the MUD process, it will need to get dedicated. So in order for us to have the latitude to do what we want to do on the local street setback of 10 feet and the collector road of 15 feet, can allow us to do something that's, creates that community feel versus a concrete jungle. And then last but not least, the pipeline setback. We negotiated that easement. It's a little unique in our perspective. So Crude Enterprise Pipeline came through here, and, anybody that's lived in Texas long enough's got the landowner Bill of Rights in their mail, and they're like, I guess I don't have a choice. They just come and do it, and then you just get to complain about it at the coffee shop. It's a 2-page document that tells you don't have any rights when someone comes in and wants to take your property. So anyway, they came in and we actually negotiated with Crude Enterprise for a few years as they put this pipeline along the 288 corridor along our entire frontage on what we could do, because we knew we were going to have pad sites up there, and it was going to be very valuable real estate and very important to us. So we negotiated with them on what could be constructed within the easement itself. And so that was specific language we as the grantee and the grantor, as the grantee, have to comply with. And they have to indemnify us for stuff that gets built in that easement that they cause harm to. So all of that is a little unique than just coming in and saying, oh, I need to be so many feet from a pipeline. I don't know who the pipeline is or who owns it. Like, we have rights under those documents. So as it sets, we're 92 feet from the right-of-way to the outside of the easement in that corridor, all right? So then having an additional 50-foot setback from that pipeline, trying to develop that community and that great sense of feel and the right product along that frontage with the ring road and the spacing that these users require, and having the right parking to incorporate a great site plan, it creates a hardship that basically renders that frontage useless. We just barely make it work with a 30-foot setback to the pipeline. But we can make that work, and that's our proposal, and that's our lobby to staff. And I believe it's the same language that's in the Valencia PUD that got approved in 2001, so we're not asking for something that hasn't been done before. And then also, regardless how close you are to the pipeline, if you're within 100 feet of the easement, I believe it is, 50 to 100 feet of the easement, you have to file an indemnification report when you go to pull your building permit. So regardless how close you are, anybody that falls within 100 feet of that easement still has to indemnify the city for anything they build there. So they're going to do that regardless whether it's 30 feet or 50 feet. It's just the 50 feet squeezes that corridor down because we've already lost 92 feet of frontage. And that's kind of it. That's the three things that we're lobbying still with staff and hope to get some support for. We're excited to be part of this project and get this thing going. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate you being here tonight. Council, any comments and/or questions? Mayor Pro Tem?
At what point, Joes, will we know about building heights and things like this, proposed building heights?
When they submit the site plan.
So what we're looking at tonight is strictly setbacks we're talking about setbacks for roads, but we're not talking about what buildings may be on those roads.
They do. So this, right now where we're at is they are creating the PUD document, and it's been reviewed. It's up for y'all to approve it. And that PUD document includes design standards, some of the commitments, some of the minimum requirements, and some of the details in terms of the property and land use allocation, like this one that's up on the screen, where your residential can go, where your commercial will go, where detention is proposed, and things of that sort. So I believe on the document, I can give you the
page 16.
There is
where
a
it talks about the
minimum
heights.
height requirement.
Maximum height requirement.
Maximum height requirement.
So for 50-foot lots, they're asking for 40-foot maximum on building heights.
I'm more worried about the commercial.
Of course. 60-foot lots are also 40-foot. And when you get to commercial, they're asking for pad sites. No building may exceed 35 feet in height. And then commercial anchor tenant, no building may exceed 60 feet in height.
Right. And that's consistent with what we've approved in other PUDs.
Well, I'm always going to worry when we start talking about a big project about our fire system here and what the equipment we have capable. And we've talked with other, developers when they started talking about 4- and 5-story buildings. We don't have an apparatus that can handle that. So, we're always going to look to make that part of our agreements. If somebody wants to build some building like that, they're going to have to work with our ESD and make sure we have the safety coverage for that. So that was one of my questions.
Can I respond to that question? Sorry to interrupt.
Please.
And we're aware of that and know that that's going to be something that's going to get discussed at some point. As part of MD Anderson's proposal, their first phase will not have buildings beyond that 35 feet. Is that correct? Correct. So their second phase, that would have to be addressed by then, and I'm assuming the fire truck would solve that eventually. So, but that, note taken, and thank you for that.
Yeah. My other thing is I'm really hoping that there's some forward thinking on the arrangements with TxDOT. If you were sitting in here earlier, you've heard some of the comments. I mean, one of the biggest deals is the Highway 6 and 288, where the MD Anderson building is going to be. I'm too, like some of the comments, I don't understand how this project can even start if that isn't addressed to be taken care of before the traffic starts showing up. So I don't know what the arrangement is. I would hope that's some of the discussions that are going on. We all know how TxDOT works at their own pace. I can see that being a limit and a hazard in this condition at that particular part of the property. The setbacks don't bother me that much, I don't think. I think we'll get a better idea for that as we move forward and see. You know, you've talked about the parade routes and all that, and I think that fits in with what our main plan was, looking at some of that area through there. You know, the country feel is I like that talk. I like the green space talk. So my major concerns are that Highway 6 area. I'm just going to have to hear a lot more of how that discussion's going on and how you're moving forward on that problem.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other? Councilman Albert? Looks like you're ready to go.
I just don't think that we should be worried about the height size. If I understand there's quarterly meetings that you have with the ESD, and as long as we're communicating with them that they're going to have apparatus needs in the future, then we need to trust them to have the apparatus needs, but we shouldn't be tempering our development based on the ESD, what they have, because they have apparatus available to them through mutual aid agreements. So I can live with that, you know, but I don't want to kill a project.
I don't want it to be a city problem. That's what I don't want it to
That's
be.
the good thing is the citizens of Manvel voted for an ESD many years ago. It's not a city problem.
Any other comments or questions, Councilman Albert?
Yep. Good.
Okay. Council, any other comments and or questions? I've got a few. So just to be upfront, I'm more than happy to approve this tonight. Let's keep the process going, but would like some clarity on some of these and possibly some additional inclusions within the PUD, because being able to spend time over the weekend watching FIFA World Cup, was able to review all of the documents and everything. First, extremely excited for MD Anderson to come. I've heard so many positive things in the community about that prospect. Would love to, I know it's not a part of the conversation tonight, but would love to have a meeting set up with them in the city and talk through, because there are some questions, you know, with the expansion happening at Sugarland. What does Manvel look like? What services will be provided? I can't tell you how many people I've heard from that live in Manvel that work at MD Anderson. And they're like, if I can avoid 288 traffic and get to work, 100% they're in. So
We'll be happy to sit down and have that conversation.
very
And
excited
prepared.
about that.
And prepared, by the way.
Absolutely. So setback for commercial, 10-foot, totally fine with that. Easement for the pipeline. Dan Joes, can you just speak to, you know, we have Valencia that's there to the east, Del Bello Lakes to the north. Are they complying with 50-foot easement, or is theirs 30-foot?
So Valencia, the PUD does have language which is similar to what they're proposing, like 30 feet from the pipeline. However, when we look at all the plats, their setback is 50 feet. They're maintaining the 50 feet setback, so to speak, on all the plat application. But
they're allowed
Don is
30.
correct. The PUD does include the language about 30 feet.
Do we know why they're choosing to do 50? Are they able to not get consent or authorization from the pipeline to build within a certain distance?
Not 100% sure.
I think it's residential, so they don't have the
Possibly they don't want to take a chance, and possibly
backyards.
Right, and it's also possible that they are not even tracking the language in the PUD. They're just going with what's minimum and what's normal.
Yeah.
And 50 is like common around within all jurisdictions here.
And I mean, my personal preference would be 50, but we have set the precedent. So I'd be fine with 30 there. I think 50 50-foot lot to 60-foot lot mix for the residential. It tracks with the surrounding residential that's there. Dan, Joe's, my understanding is with the PUD, it says that there's 2.4 acres of parkland, but 50% of that can be trails, specifically sidewalks. Is that correct?
PUD document.
PUD says. So I wouldn't necessarily count sidewalks as parkland. So I'd like to explore that a little bit more to ensure that it's a true 2.4 acres of parkland. I also see here, when we look at the existing the existing OPUD compared to the proposed PUD, I see 5 acres for a Manvel city site, but when I compared it to the OPUD, I saw 10 acres. Was I reading that correctly for the OPUD?
My recollection, it was slightly more, 5.2 or 3, 5.2.
5.2 for the city site, but then there was also like a 5-acre land that was for going to be given to the city for like utility facilities?
No, it's always been 5.
On the marketing material, on the Transwestern website, it's 10.8 acres.
Is that what you blame them? That's what you get for hiring brokers, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm focused on the OPUD, Dan. Am I misremembering?
Let me pull it up, Mayor. There was a wastewater plant.
Okay.
In the original OPUD, that might be the extra acreage.
Oh, yeah, that could be it. There was 3.5 acres for a wastewater plant.
Okay.
Yeah, and on this plan, you have the water. No, you have a
1 acre water.
1 acre for the treatment plant. Yeah.
Okay. Appreciate that clarification. Now, for the Manvel city site, according to our development agreement that's in place existing, there's Bobby, correct me if I'm wrong, a $3 million contribution still called out for that? Okay. My big concern as well is traffic. Reading through the traffic impact analysis, 52,000 vehicle trips per day just for what you guys are developing. And I'll agree with what the TIA said. It is one of the largest traffic generating developments proposed in Manvel, and that's massive. You know, Manvel Town Center, they had a requirement to phase in order to build the feeder going southbound. We've got to have that as a requirement. It can't be just an if, it has to be a when, and we have to. And I know a big part of that is TxDOT, but we have to have that feeder. If you don't have that feeder, it's going to cause a mess here, because it already is. And when you add 52,000 vehicles per day, a majority of those vehicles are going to come down onto Highway 6 and then are going to go north from there. My understanding is Manvel Parkway, that construction is tied to phase 1. Is that correct? Of construction? Okay. So we can tie, now obviously it's dependent on TxDOT, but I think Dan, Don, Joe's, I think before final approval, we really got to lean with TxDOT because we got to get it tied to something. I think our citizens definitely need to see that there. Taking a look here, signage, let me dive into that a little bit further. I want to see how it compares the differences between the two. I know we've held firm with Manvel Town Center, with BCS, and with other projects regarding signage, so just want to take a look at that some more. Because I've heard from a few residents, the residential homes that will live alongside Tract H for Del Bello Lakes. What type of buffering, according to the PUD, is being proposed for Tract H? Because my understanding is Tract H is tentative for where MD Anderson would go.
Correct.
Is that correct? So that's going to have a lot of activity all hours of the day. Is there going to be, substantive trees built there, or a wall, or something to protect those homes?
The setback to Del Bello from the Tract H is going to be significant.
Okay. When you say significant, how would you define that?
It's going to be massively landscaped with at least 100-foot setback from the property line.
Okay. And that's going to be not on top of the easement?
Correct.
Okay. So an additional 100 feet, and then we'll have landscaping trees and make it look all nice and pretty. Okay.
As far as the residential goes, again, this is a placeholder, right? None of this may end up being residential, based on what could happen with this project. Uses that, that's an interesting concept. How successful is that? Well, they've been doing it over here in this other town. Let's go look at it and see if we'd like to put that on our property. That's not for us. Right now, the residential is kind of the revolving door for us, where it used to be over half the project. Now it's less significant. for us, because we're looking at this as a better program, right? So that's, in order to kind of just fit within the original OPUD acreages and consistently get that the same, so we didn't have to try to reinvent the wheel for this, so we could get underway and make this stuff start becoming reality. We just kept it residential for now, because we can always, you can always upzone it back to commercial or a different use, right? But, so as far as that buffer, once that residential project comes through with their specific site plan, once we pick the right builder, if that stays residential, you will see that setback and the buffer and all those conditions to come with that site plan.
Thanks.
Just to add, I'm not 100% sure if the setback is 100 feet on that side, but I think the PUD does reference our landscape ordinance and recommends the landscape buffer and tree planting. All of that aligns with our current minimum standards. But however, if the council needs additional changes in terms of the planting or the setback, that may have to be called out, because right now, it's not a separate requirement for that particular tract.
And if I may, the setback from those houses in Del Bello to the property line are like 20 feet, right? So in the OPED predated that.
Yep, absolutely.
So it goes Del Bello house, backyard, fence, pipeline easement on our property, and then our project.
Absolutely. Well, let's just take a look at that, get some information there.
So there will be 60-some, 70-some feet along that back fence that's pipeline easement that nothing can get built on except for grass.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't want to put a tree with roots on top of it.
Right, it's prohibited. I wrote it.
Dan Joe's question, if we were to say, for example, tract I, let's say that were to change from residential to commercial, that would have to be an amendment to the PUD. I believe that there's a fluctuation of 10% within the PUD, that your dedicated acreage can go up and down, but if you were to change something completely, that would have to come back before the council at that time.
Correct.
Okay, awesome. A few other items, just when I was looking through the permitted use table, the grocery store would need to just align with the same of a recent PUD for BCS. I'd be interested in seeing, because right now the south side of it, pretty much most of this is open land, but the south side of it is pretty heavily wooded. What we could look to do for just a little bit of a wooded buffer along the south side of 6, that's something that's top of mind for me. A big one is drainage. My understanding is that there's existing culverts that go underneath Highway 6 in order to get drainage to the south side. Are those culverts sufficient for what we're expecting to have to get from the north side to the south side?
Yes.
I think Michael's here, yeah. Michael Rusk is their engineer and has been actually for.
Michael, just thumbs up, thumbs down. Are they sufficient?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
All right, perfect.
I just wanted to make him get up.
And then what about the ones underneath the GCWA canal? Are those sufficient too? Because I know previously there were others that GCWA or the railroad had to go and fix because they were caving in on themselves and causing flooding issues.
So they can't increase what flows south, because then we would just be transferring the water further to the south. So we've tried multiple times to make the pipes under GCWA larger so that we could relieve water off of TxDOT, off of Highway 6, I should say, and they won't let us do that. So basically, anybody on the north side, just like Manvel Town Center did, they have to over-detain essentially, because that's the choke point, if you will.
Gotcha, okay. Well, maybe when you guys go to the water meeting, here in the next week or two, you could find someone from GCWA and try to strong arm them a little bit.
Harvey did not help the cause.
No, it did not.
Although if you look at the historical aerials, which is kind of funny, to go back and look at how it did, you can see those quarterly aerials on Google Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it was October 2017, is that right?
For Harvey?
Yeah.
September,
so water was still standing there. Fared very well, this property, and both sides of 6. You can obviously see where the standing water is, and it's actually further east is where it really started the 100-year flood was. So it's a knock on laminate. That helped us identify some things that, engineers are pretty good most of the time.
Speaking of drainage, Dan, this project's proposing pump detention up to 42% of capacity. How does that make you feel?
I do not like it at all, and you know that.
I don't like it either,
Not a fan of pump detention.
especially around homes and businesses that close.
I'm not a fan of detention, period, but it is what it is.
So we're going to have next 2 weeks a very serious conversation about that. That was not called out in any reports glaring. I had to actually dig into the drainage report in order to find that, and that's kind of shocked me. Wait, we're proposing 42% of the entire detention for this project, this pump detention. Makes me very nervous. Now, it says mitigations provided, but floodplain acreage is still being filled and converted to development, and that's concerning. Has DD4 looked at their drainage plan yet? Have you guys gotten that in front of them?
They've approved it.
And DD4 fully approved it?
Yep.
Just to qualify, so I think it's a drainage impact analysis at this point. It's just
not the
like a
actual plan,
TIA.
it's the T- okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
It's very high level at
Gotcha.
this point.
Okay. Water and wastewater capacity impact fees would have to pay for that and provide for that. We don't currently have the capacity available. Or do we have the capacity?
When our wastewater treatment plant is completed next year, then we'll have the capacity. So the impact fees would be appropriate for wastewater. For the water, what we've talked about is because our master water plan identifies that we need another groundwater plant site. So that was one of the things that we contemplated on here. I see their lift station now, but it's not standing out to me right now. But there's a water plant. Tract O. I'm sorry. There you go. There's 1 acre. So
what is for groundwater specifically? What is the volume that we're expecting this site to use every day? Do we know?
I don't recall their equivalent single-family connections off the top of my head right now.
I don't know. I was watching soccer. You should have been too. That was one I wasn't prepared to answer.
I don't think we have that number, at least right now.
Okay, because groundwater is a hot topic here in Texas.
Sure.
And that's, if we're just sticking another straw, a massive straw into it, I don't know what we're currently at. Do we know, what our current wells are producing? Is there enough water for a project this size? We don't have a subsidence district within Brazoria County, so it's not being monitored. And that's a concern. So I want to follow up on that number for, what the single family or what the connections would be, what's being proposed, and what that groundwater impact would be.
Mayor, speaking of following up, you had asked about the acreages a minute ago.
1,800.
1,800 connections at 325 gallons a day. So 585,000 gallons a day. So basically a closed loop hyperscale data center is what's being proposed.
Less than a golf course.
That's what they say.
We have 2 golf courses, and it's a lot more than that. So.
Mayor, the acreages you asked, so the OPUD, there were 3 components for city uses. There was a civic site of 5.2 acres, a wastewater treatment plant was 3.3 acres, and the water plant was 1 acre. So a total of 9.5 acres in the OPUD. This new PUD has 5 acres for the city site. It just says 1 acre for the water plant and 0.2 acres for a lift station, so 6.2. So it went from 9.5 to 6.2.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Dan. I think there's a lot of in the PUD, a lot in the plans that I like, a lot to celebrate the hard work, Dawn, of you and your team, what's being proposed, Joe's, Dan, what you guys have done. I know I'll focus on some questions and concerns more in my comments, but that's not to negate how much there is to like about this. I think the site plan's nice. I like the flow of the roads. The extension of Charlotte is going to be a nice connection point through, so a lot of good things. The brand radius restrictions, thank you guys for accommodating that. There's going to be some things just to get clarification on and some concerns that I have. Big ones is groundwater. And then that feeder, I would probably say that feeder is one of the biggest ones for me, but we'll have some more conversations the next 2 weeks. Thanks, Don. No, I took up a lot of time there, Council. Any other comments, questions? Councilman?
I know most people up here have talked about the egress and ingress and what's going to go in the commercial areas. Everyone knows I'm the tree guy, so I feel like I have to comment. Would this be a time to get in the nitty-gritty about that, or is this something that will come later once this is approved? For instance, I have questions about the park space, the green space, what's going to go around these detention areas. Is this going to be just like a grass inlet that holds water? Is this going to have trees? I just kind of want to know more about what it's going to look like, which y'all might not even be to that phase yet, so.
We'll have that once we get to a detailed site plan, for sure.
However, if there is specifics that you would like to have in the development, this is the time to include those things as the minimum requirements. So right now, in terms of landscaping, what is being proposed is what we have in our zoning ordinance right now. So everything we have in terms of tree preservation, planting for commercial development, parking lot planting, buffer yard planting, all of that is already factored in.
We didn't seek any variances for any landscaping.
Right, but if there's anything that you would want to see differently or added to what we have, this would be the time for that.
I mean, not necessarily. I love this is happening. I'm 24 years old. This has been, I guess, in the works for a good portion of my life. I've driven past here so many times, and I would love to save all the forests and woods, but I know that, and I also want to see commercial happen. So it's tough for me. It's pulling at both sides. I'm hoping that this development can be full of nice medians and trees and green space, a place that will invite me and other people like me into it to shop there and spend some time. The forest being destroyed is my concern, but I want the commercial, I want those tax dollars for our city. So it's exciting for sure.
Yeah, landscaping and lighting makes every project special.
Thank you, Councilman. If there's anything specific, Councilman, that you want to see incorporated or discussed over the next 2 weeks, get with Dan and Joe's, and we can have that discussion. Thank you, Councilman.
Just to quickly run through the list, right now I have your comment about parkland, making sure that residential parkland dedication provides 100% true park. You talked about the feeder issue, making sure that the buffer between the tract for medical use is considered, and then the grocery store exception language was mentioned. We had also talked about clarification on the pump detention part included in the DA.
And could we get, I guess, a clarification from council? I mean, is council interested in something less than our minimum standard of 50% right now for pump detention? So up until 3.5 years ago, we didn't allow pump detention at all. We allow it with certain conditions now. And if one of those conditions, of course, that we talked about a few months ago was the proximity to residential. It's 1,000 feet. So if they are going to have a residential component, then that makes it a little tricky if it's, embedded within their development. Another component, of course, was, backup generators and those kind of things, reporting requirements to BDD4, and then a minimum of 50% gravity. I think they've got 59% right now. Is that right, Michael? Are we, are you okay with that?
What I'll say, Dan, to that is I voted against the commercial project because it did not meet our minimum standards. And you have to be fair to the small guy just like you are to the big guy. And so I would say our pump detention minimum standards need to be applied here. That's my personal preference. Council? You guys have any feedback on that? Council, anyone else?
I don't know that it's
I don't
already
know
at
if that kills the
59.
project.
No, you're at 42.
Is that correct, Dan? It's at 42% being proposed. Our minimum is 50.
We're good? Okay. I was thinking we do the other way. Yeah.
Right now, according to their drainage impact analysis, of course, that's high-level stuff. We have to, the actual plans and everything, but I think they're at 50. I just had it up, sorry.
Yeah, because I thought you said 59% gravity as it.
59% gravity.
So
right.
they meet.
We meet that one, but there's other conditions too. 1,000 feet from a residential home, et cetera.
I mean, I think we need to make sure that they meet.
The standards.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
Can I have Michael speak just for a second, clarify some of this volumes that are being tossed around, because
We do get to hear you speak, Michael. Welcome.
he can't speak all of that with this.
All right, so
Michael
what was
Rusk, LJA.
Yes, we're, as Don said, we've been the engineers on this piece of property for quite some time. Looked at it lots of different ways from the drainage perspective. So I want to go back. What was your original question? Make sure I addressed it.
I did not have a question. Our city manager had a question to make sure that are we holding to our minimum standards as it relates to pump detention? And council is saying yes, as long as you guys meet what our minimum standards are, and according to our pump detention within the design criteria manual, we're good with that, but we're not willing to compromise our minimum standards.
And I guess a frame of reference, there was a point in time when Meridiana was going to, they had it in their original agreement where they were going to do pump detention. And then they came and very similarly asked for, to revise some things. And at that time, pump detention was not allowed at all. So that was removed, and so we haven't seen that anymore. So it's a big development, and so, I just don't, you already know what my feelings are on it, so I just want to say it out loud. If we all know that we've got a 400-acre development that's going to have pump detention, that's a big deal.
Can I quickly add something? So this PUD is setting the zoning-related criteria and anything associated with zoning-related and development standards. Now, our pump detention would be part of our design criteria manual requirement, and the assumption was like, if the PUD is approved and on a need basis, pump detention request will be reviewed, and if it passes, it'll go. If not, then a deviation, they'll come to you. But to Dan's point, I believe if you're open to any kind of deviation, we need to, if we know at this point, we can maybe factor that in the PUD. Is that where we're going?
And maybe it'll help if I read the design criteria manual that was approved earlier this year. So pumped floodplain mitigation facilities are not allowed. So floodplain mitigation you can't do with a pump, period. That's the way that we have it hard-coded. Pump detention facilities may be allowed by city council on a case-by-case basis, so here we are, but only with the following criteria. Number one, for non-residential developments only. For non-residential developments only. Number two, no residences within 1,000 feet of the pump facility. Number three, backup natural gas generators provided for the entire pump facility. Number four, at least 50% of the required detention is achieved by a gravity system. And then number five, of course, the corresponding drainage district has to approve the pump facility. So
is, Mr. Rusk, is this proposed site plan meeting all of those conditions?
I would say it does. It's a unique situation with such a shallow outfall situation. So the pump detention is actually, you reach a point where the pump's shut off and everything works by gravity, and that's at the end, or as the event gets to be a larger event. So the concern with the pump detention, as Dan and I've discussed in the past, is that as the event gets more intense, what happens if the pump's shut off? Well, this system is uniquely designed to where once it ponds up to a certain elevation and it reaches the gravity outfall, it's all gravity from that point at all. So you've got a backup system, so to speak, is that if it were to fail, it operates gravity, at that point forward, which the whole development would go that route, including the commercial. So I think under that sense, yes, it does meet your criteria. If you look at just the gross acreage, it's over the 59%, or it's over the 50% at 59% being gravity outfall. So I would say it does.
Well, you said a few key words that, if I'm being frank, I think are trying to disguise what the actual question is. You said gross acreage. So let's be very specific. The detention that's being proposed for pump detention, is that just for commercial? No, it's not.
It depends on where you draw the line on where the acreage is. This acreage gravitying and that acreage pumped or whatever.
It's not. Is it going to be within 1,000 feet of a residential home?
No, sir. It's on the south side of Highway 6.
So the pump detention is all going to be on the south side of Highway 6?
That is correct. Yes, that's where the outfall is that goes under the canal you were talking about previously. So that's where it is. There's limited discharge at that point. So that's where the pump station is.
Okay.
Everything on the north side.
Everything on the north side,
Gravity.
gravities. So
But doesn't the current, didn't you say any part of it that had residential would disallow pump?
The way our design criteria manual reads right now, yes, sir.
So,
It wouldn't.
so as it stands right now, this doesn't meet our criteria manual by showing pump detention in a development that has residential in it.
Right. If there's any residential, then we'll be violating our own ordinance. That's exactly the point I'm trying to make.
But I think the point that Mike was making is the pump detention volume.
I'm not talking about volume or anything right now. I'm talking about strictly, the ordinance says no pump detention if there's residential in the development, correct? I mean, that's cut and dry. Is there any residential in your development?
in the current site plan, yes.
So that doesn't allow pump detention by our ordinance.
You correct?
It would have to be a variance.
Right, and that's where the case-by-case basis, so here we are, we're at a case-by-case basis, so it's valid, granted, where Joe's was going, so.
I understand that. I just want to make sure we all understood
Right.
just what the question is. And I think that was kind of getting covered over.
Yeah.
Okay? Is there a way we can get around this? Possibly. But it's just going to take a little bit more study to say that where you're putting the residents, yeah, I kind of like need proof. You can, like the mayor said, you know, you're kind of covering parts of it by saying, yes, it does, but then gravity feeds up here. Do we know that until the water hits? You know?
And
I don't know how we
Councilman,
prove
to your
that.
point, if the pump detention is south and that stops working, it's going to back up the gravity to the north. And that's kind of what I was getting at, and no disrespect by that, but, you know, wanted very direct answers to the questions. And Mayor Pro Tem, to your point, that's a decision. We don't have to make that decision tonight. This is the first of two readings, but that's an important conversational piece we have to have. Let's go Councilman Albert, and then Joe's will go to you.
So if we do nothing, they already have the OPUD that they can already do most of this stuff in anyway. Does that also include the pump detention?
I don't know if, is pump detention specifically mentioned in the OPUD?
No.
I don't believe so. And the only reason we're talking about it tonight, because it impacts their land plan. Obviously, if the ponds are this size, what they're planning for with pumps, if they can't do pump, then the ponds are this size, relatively speaking, right?
So the pump detention has absolutely nothing to do with the PUD or the OPUD, so then.
Well, but indirectly it does, because they couldn't do this land. This land use plan only works with pump detention is what I think they're saying.
But it's not a zoning issue yet, is what you're.
Right.
But you're thinking like.
I'm just thinking the next step. Yeah, I don't want to sell you a bill of goods if you think that you're going to be able to do this, but the only way that you can do this is with pump detention.
Right.
You know.
It'd be the variance built in.
Exactly. Thank you. Did you hear that from Bobby?
Any other questions, Councilman Albert?
Okay. No.
No. Joe's?
I was just going to mention that the list I was going through, the last two item was the pump detention issue and the groundwater issue that you mentioned.
You did a great job summarizing.
Before the second.
Yes. We have a second reading. We don't have to figure this out tonight. As you can see, the pump detention is a big item of discussion, and if we can all take that as a note to follow up on over the next 2 weeks, I think it's something to certainly think about there. Council, any other comments or questions as it relates to this item tonight? Really good discussion. You know, it's been since 2007, so we're peeling back the onion layers.
That's the point, that's why we're here.
We're diving. I appreciate you
That's
guys.
why Dan brought it up.
Absolutely.
It's for exactly the same reason, right? You know?
Maybe not the same reason, but
No, it is. I mean,
it's being brought up. It's all about drainage. We don't want.
To tripping over stuff that we should have known about.
Correct. And the goal at the end of the day is to make sure that when people invest in Manvel, they invest in a home, they invest in a business, that it doesn't flood. And that's what we all are focused on there. So, Council, I think at this point, we'll entertain a motion on this, knowing that there's still more work to come over the next 2 weeks. Do I have a motion for this agenda item?
Move to approve as recommended.
We have a motion to approve as recommended from Councilman Albert, a second from Mayor Pro Tem Bonner. All those in favor? All those opposed, motion passes in a 5-0 vote. Tammy, if a council member steps out and they're not here for a vote, would that count against? Or how would I count that as a part of the record? Absent, okay, perfect. All right. Gentlemen,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll
Appreciate
talk
your-
again here in
appreciate
2
the
weeks.
effort.
And
Thank you.
Dan, Joes, and Don, we'll set up some meetings over the next 2 weeks, and we'll work through these, and appreciate y'all's time
Thank you
tonight.
very much.
We're very excited about the project, excited about MD Anderson, and we'll work through, these are the fine-tuning details.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right. Council, we have 2 items until we get to our executive session where we can stretch our legs, but we have set a policy where at the 2-hour mark, we take a break to stretch our legs. Do you guys want to power through, or do you guys want to take a 5-minute break?
What we got, 9?
We've got 5 and 9 next. You guys just want to power through?
Yeah.
All right, we'll just power through. So agenda item number 5. I know, and she's like, yes, and she just took a break. Okay. Oh, our audience is, you guys don't want to stay for the rest? Oh, come on.
Where'd they go?
Thank you, everyone. We'll give them a minute here.
Get past.
This is still, all right, we're gonna take a,
I just want to thank you guys. It's the first of this team in front of you.
absolutely.
Reputation and knowledge is the only 2 things we have. I think.
That's it. Thank you, Don. Enjoy which game? He's going to the World Cup game on Friday, Bobby. Yeah, I know. All right. I don't know, Los Angeles, whoever's there. So item number 5, consideration and possible action to approve the first of 2 readings of ordinance 2026-0, that's 18. Council, this is the Sign Plaza presentation that we received previously. A call out was to put together the agreement. We also have to update our sign ordinance to make sure that we allow these plazas. So this is more of a formality just to codify what we want to do here. Council, any comments and or questions as it relates to this agenda item?
If I could elaborate, I'm sorry, I have
I'm trying to save your voice,
I know
Bobby,
I've
but
lost
go
my
ahead.
voice. I have laryngitis or something.
No, you were shouting at the World Cup game.
Yeah, must be. Now, there are 3 things going on. The sign ordinance has to be amended to allow this to even happen. That's the major part of this ordinance. We've adopted a program which has certain specifics as to the application, how they'd be installed, what goes on them, how they'd be maintained. So there's an actual program to give everyone details about what we're looking for, and any applicant could basically know what it would take to get approved. And at the end of the day, it's all going to boil down to a license agreement entered into by the city, signed by Dan, and whatever entity is going to be successful, and every location would have its own license agreement. So location by location would be, I guess, at Dan's decision, because in this ordinance, it gives Dan the authority to implement this program and sign the license agreements. So there's 3 things going on. And like I said, at the end of the day, it's all designed for a successful applicant to get a license agreement to put one of these sign plazas or kiosks up. And if they meet all of our details, there will be no permit per se. The license agreement would be the permit, but there will be specifications submitted, and there will be an inspection. Just no sign permit, because we're going actually probably into more detail than a sign permit would require. We're actually doing a license agreement and approving the location where it would actually go. So this whole design program was to reduce clutter, put all these home builders on the signs onto one thing, and also possibly make a little bit of revenue for the city. Although the revenue that the one party that had already given us a presentation, who's probably going to be interested in this, if not the only one, was looking at $10 per sign face, which I'm not sure that's market value. So I don't know how we would determine that, but that's something that council can change or let it be whatever the market is, and then Dan or somebody will have to have a resource to try to figure out what that is. So.
Thank you, Bobby. Council, any comments or questions? Go ahead, Dan.
Just a real quick comment. So I was visiting with Councilman Oplinger earlier today about this, and basically the way I explained it is we're trying to get our subdivision ordinance to where we'll be in compliance with our own ordinance, which is a noble and right thing to do, right? I mean, as opposed to just going out there and doing it and being in violation of our own ordinance. So if it seems odd, that's why we want to do it the right way. I'm so sorry. You're right. Sign ordinance. Thank you. You're right.
Well, Council, I'll say that I'm good with this, and I'm fine with maybe not setting a set price point, but allowing the city manager to negotiate the best deal for the city based off of market conditions. And so with that, I'll make a motion to approve this ordinance with the slight adjustment to language as stated. Do I have a second? We have a second from Councilwoman Roby Robinson. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Item number 9, discussion and update on the municipal utility district formation policy. I'll save Bobby a little bit of talking here, but we'll see if he has any items. This has been a team effort working on this, getting it to the point. Susan's done a ton of research, myself, Joe's, Mayor Pro Tem Bonner, Dan. We've all been working on this. And so what you see in front of you in your packets is basically a draft of what the policy would be. If a MUD is looking to get created for the first time in Manvel, which is not the city creating a MUD, but it would be a developer creating the MUD, these are the conditions and the requirements that they would have to agree to in order for us to consent to their creation as a MUD. It could also be applied potentially if a MUD is looking to annex in more land. We can have a conversation around that. So I want to put it in front of you, see if, Council, if you guys have any initial comments or feedback on this. It will be shared with stakeholders over the next 2 weeks, and then it will be up for official adoption at our next council meeting. Some of the requirements are simple ones and big ones. Simple ones such as they must live stream their meetings, that they must meet within a certain distance of their MUD boundaries. Some more important requirements regarding financial accountability and transparency, dedications and alignment with our earned place ordinances. So it's a much needed step. And Bobby has spent a ton of time looking through water code and state laws, seeing what we can do for ETJ MUDs compared to in-city MUDs and ETJ MUDs that are connected to our services. And thank you, Bobby, for all of your research there. Bobby, is there anything you'd like to add before we open it up to comments and questions?
No, Mayor, I mean, we haven't looked at this in a long time, and I don't know we've even approved a MUD district in a long time. So this is long overdue, and like you said, we've done a lot of research and even found some things that we think a lot of other cities haven't even addressed. So we're happy, and I guess the stakeholders will tell us, I guess, if there's any pushback on this or not.
Sounds good. Councilman Albert?
I would like to see this put on especially given the late hour and where it is landed on the agenda, I'd like to see it put on a workshop that we can have some more discussion when we're fresh-minded.
Okay. We can look to do that, assign that as a workshop item at our next council meeting then?
We can, or if we have it as a resolution on the agenda proper, obviously we can talk about anything in the workshop and just make a point to discuss that item as a.
Or would you like to see what the stakeholders come back with first before we have a workshop to kind of, rather than us do a lot of work and then all of a sudden we have to change a lot of things maybe in response to comments we get back from the stakeholders, which might be MUD attorneys or developers.
Yeah, and I think that was my point, is I think you've got a lot of the legwork done here. You still got some big Swiss cheese holes that you're going to fill in with stakeholders, and I think I'd like to hear the outcome of what those are as we put this together.
Perfect. So what we can do there, Councilman, if you're good with it, we'll, over the next 2 weeks, have those conversations, get that feedback. It'll be on our next agenda, but we'll flag specifically talking about it in the workshop. That way we can talk about it earlier in the evening. And then if we need more time on it, we can certainly postpone the agenda item. Does that work for you, Councilman?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, Council, no action is needed on this one. Any other discussion or information? Hearing none, we'll head into the executive session. City Council will convene into executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071, consultation with attorney to discuss the following: litigation case number 135893-CV, City of Manvel v. Lakeland Manvel, and also consultation with attorney for abstract of judgment, cause number 77339-CV, City of Manvel v. versus Robert Furness et al., City of Manvel versus John Furness Sr. We will head into executive session at 8:14. I want to give a special shout out to Mayor Dolores Martin, the last one hanging out with us tonight. Mayor, thank you for being here. All right, we'll head back to executive session. Thank you, everyone. We'll reconvene from executive session here at 8:42 p.m., having taken no action. Regular agenda item number 10, consideration possible action to approve ordinance 2026-0-19. Rosie, what do you got for us here?
No gutter commercials. We are asking for an increase in the general fund of $238,500. Part of that would be used to be able to fund for a assistant city manager. You finally twisted Dan's arm, or maybe the audit that we had twisted his arm. I don't know which one of the two. We're asking for an additional $115,000 to increase our property and liability insurance. The cost was much higher. This one includes a windstorm insurance that we have also. We're asking for $50,000 for legal expense to cover the lawsuit that we are currently working with against the Lakeland developer, and for the 2008 development agreement. And the final increase is for $13,500 to cover the expense of the single audit, which was not budgeted for.
Great. Thank you, Rosie. Council, any comments or questions? So this would bring us to 48%.
Yes, sir.
Weren't we just at like 56, 58%? How do we drop so much so fast?
Do you mean in the audit when she presented?
Well, no, the fund balance. I can remember, what was it, 2-3 meetings ago, we were sitting here saying that our fund balance was like 56, 58%.
It fluctuates depending on the usage, the revenues, and the expenditures.
Okay.
And we're getting into the part of the year where those expenses start coming out.
Exactly.
So,
Because as soon as I start talking budget freeze, people start spending.
why'd you look at Chief when you said that? So this would put us at 48%, slightly below, but Rosie, do
Yes,
you
sir.
foresee from a forecast perspective, we'll be able to get back to at least that 50% by the end?
I believe so, sir, unless never mind, I'm not going to say it.
No, I mean, you never know what may happen, and so that's a reality, okay. And then the two reoccurring expenses, though, that we'd be committing to, one would be the assistant city manager in the budget moving forward.
That's correct.
And then two would be property and liability insurance increase, and that's staying with our current provider, just increasing that.
Exactly.
Okay. And then first off, Dan, love seeing that you're posting for this. It's been a long time coming. You'll have to let Crystal know, Crystal Sarmiento. I know she's been pushing for this in the past. What does the process look like moving forward after this budget amendment vote?
Sure. So if y'all approve that tonight, we have the job description still from when we ran it. You know, it's comical, I guess. We had this in the budget for the last 2 years, and then this year we finally just took it out. We're not getting the right candidate. And so, all right, so here we are. Like Rosie said, we're putting it back in. I think the job description actually can go out tomorrow, Chad?
Yes, sir. The job description's already all approved. We have this set upon approval to go ahead and put out first thing tomorrow morning.
Awesome. And so then would interview, come forward with a candidate. Is this one of those positions, Dan, where council would have to consent to the hiring?
You know, Mayor, it's really interesting. I've talked about that a lot and looked into it. The charter talks about the consent for directors. So technically, the assistant city manager is not a director. And that was the approach that the previous city manager took whenever I came on staff. So I didn't actually get council's consent, so to speak, for that. I
You
think,
wouldn't have gotten it.
What's that?
Like you wouldn't have gotten it.
I mean, I suppose it's a formality, but I would really like to do that. I mean, I think it would set a really good tone for the staff, for the assistant city manager, for the community. So I would like to do that, to bring them for you. And if anybody, you know, obviously, as we get closer, we can talk more about it. But I don't think the charter specifically requires it, but I would still like to do it.
Sounds good. No, love it. Excited to see who applies, who you guys interview, and who ultimately you bring forward. We'll be praying for the right person. Council, any comments, questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Councilman Albert. We have a second from Mayor Pro Tem Bonner. All those in favor? All those opposed?
That was a 4.
That was a 4, okay. Motion passes in a 6-0 vote. Any mayor and council comments?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Pause for one quick second. We have BCCA this Wednesday. That's going to be in Pearland. Tammy, do we know if that's still happening with the weather?
Yes, the BCCA is, but I did send y'all an email with the ER's tree, whatever it was called.
The topping.
Yeah, that one, it's not canceled completely. It's going to be rescheduled. They just do not have the new date. And the grand opening is still scheduled for Public Works. We're just going to move it inside.
It wasn't a tree topping, though. That's what Christmas. The top out when they put the
Top, that's exactly it.
It's my first night with the mic.
Oh, it's going to be the president of BCCA, his first mic with the night. So if you guys want a show, go to BCCA on Wednesday night. All right, well, let me say happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there as well. Thank you for all that you do. And now I will second the councilwoman's motion to adjourn. Do we have, let's all in favor? All opposed. Motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Hit it.